down a dead man's chest. Yo, ho, ho.
You ready? Because they are.
Oh, we're ready?
I'm asking you.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do the show. Why not? We're here.
Why?
Well, they can see us now.
Can they?
Yeah.
Thrilling, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's such great video. Aren't you glad you tuned in? It's another episode of Comiholics. What is this, like 26 or something?
I don't even know. I'm going to say 24? 24 or 25?
Or 26, 27.
It does not matter.
53, 92.
Cheers.
Cheers. Hi. Well, if you're going to cheers, then let's cheers. Let's do a drink. Woo! Because we love drinking. This is Comiholics. This is the show where we get drunk, we talk about comic book stuff on the Pop Culture Network. This is our third worst show on the entire network.
Really?
Really, yeah. And I'm just making up.
So we're third from the bottom?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Out of how many shows?
Like 12.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'm just making something up, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know if that's, you know. I mean, sorry, but anyway.
No, you're not.
So
sorry.
I'm gonna let you go first, since you're the one who wants to do this show, and I hate you and can't stand to be around you at all. So you go ahead and start
him now.
and talk
Do these
about whatever
shows.
comic stuff you want to talk about.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna sit here and eat your nuts.
Let's see.
Mm.
This one's called Ancient Dreams.
Guys on the audio show are gonna be wondering what the hell's going on.
I picked this up at C2E2.
Oh no, wait, what's it called?
It's called Ancient Dreams.
From
J.P. Roth.
let's say what publishing company it's from, or anything?
I'm working on it.
You picked this up at C2E2?
Yeah.
You know Wizard World is going on this weekend?
Is it?
Yeah. C2E2 is the spring show.
Yeah.
And Wizard World is the fall show. So it's like, you should have read that by now. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say you should have read that by now. Yeah. A little late.
Okay.
This guy's going to be like, oh yeah, thanks for reading my book like 6 months after I gave it to you.
You know what? I had a huge stack. Here's how I do my stacks, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I've got Marvel,
Mm-hmm.
DC,
Mm-hmm.
Independent,
Uh-huh.
and then in the Independent are whatever randoms that I get from C2E2.
Sure.
This booth for Ancient Dreams, the J.P. Roth, I don't know who the publisher is.
Okay, well it doesn't matter. So go ahead and talk about the book. What's it about?
It's
About
kind of like
spaceships.
it's a mythological collection.
So it's like
there's-
Star Wars.
No.
Oh.
It's very much like in the past or in its times. But there's an interesting twist to it because it kind of ties into, like the first story. There's a tie-in. They all kind of lead into each other. All these different myths, and they're stretching it, and it reminds me of like a loose interpretation, kind of like how 300 was, where there's like there's a mythos, but it's also very dark and sinister. Lots of blood and dark shadows and a lot of dark colors. The reds stand out dramatically. It's really catchy. Bit of reading. You got to read about 4 or 5 pages before you actually get into it. I think it's because this may be just like a introduction issue into more issues. I'm thinking. I don't know for sure.
Did it read like it was a standalone? Like the story ended?
No, the story didn't. It was definitely like,
Okay.
you know. But I thought it was beautifully done. I was a little confused sometimes with the flow of some of the pages because there's like, in one scene there's like this king standing before, just like, you know, the 3 witches without eyes. What's the Greek myth? Oh, it's terrible.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, anyways. All of these stories are loosely based around mythos. There's 2 or 3 stories in here. The second story is like a woman forgets her identity and remembers that she was actually an ancient princess, and it's like in modern times. And I'm wondering if that story is going to be the main storyline of all of this, and maybe the other stories were just backstory of her.
So the stories don't necessarily go together.
I think they do go together,
but not.
It doesn't all. The puzzle doesn't all fit in this issue. No, but I'm interested. I'm definitely interested. And yeah, the booth was very enticing because they had a lot of women dressed like appropriately, just like they are in this comic. So
They were dressed appropriately for the comic or inappropriately for public?
No, there were a couple of women that were definitely dressed inappropriately for public, but not at that booth. They were fine. They were fine. But you know, it was a good story.
Was this a handout or did you buy this?
I think I bought it. Is there a price in there? Maybe it was a handout.
Oh, self-published.
Yeah.
Self-published by J.P. Roth.
There you go.
So there you go. Well, okay, let me ask you this then. Based on reading this, if there was a like monthly or bi-monthly comic, you know, $3.99 an issue, would you buy it?
If they put as much detail and creativity in telling the story like they did in this one, definitely. Yeah.
What if it was a $20 hardcover?
How many
It contains-
pages? How many pages?
Well, it contains these stories and then like the other, you know, like maybe it was a couple hundred pages, you know.
Maybe.
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 You know, it's hard to tell because, you know, this is a good jumping point, but, you know, I've seen a lot of good jumping points not necessarily land on its feet, you know. But, yeah, if there's more collected editions that come out, I'd definitely be willing to add it to the stack, see where it goes. I'm always intrigued by, like, ancient myth and stuff, and I really enjoy that.
Let's pause for a second. Let's pause for 1 second because we did have a conversation here this past week or so where you decided to drop a bunch of mainstream books, a bunch of DC Marvel books, and look into more independent titles, more out of the mainstream monthly books.
Well, I found that I've been collecting a lot of books that I've been reading, and I'm just reading them just to read them. I'm not that interested in them. I had to reevaluate. You know, I had to let go of some titles that.
Like which one? Like which ones have you given up?
Well, like Avengers Academy for one.
I gave up on that a while ago.
I really loved Avengers Academy, and I just dropped it.
You know, at first when it was about
bad habit.
When it was about, you know, these people coming to grips with their powers and, you know, learning their limitations and whatever, and there's a helicopter flying overhead. Great.
Hospital nearby.
Yeah, or it's the fuzz.
Right.
You know, checking out your field out back where you're growing your special crops. It's hops. It's for my deer. Yeah, sure. But, you know, when it was about the kids, you know, coming of age, whatever, but then it started turning into these bad, like, after-school specials and all of this, I don't know, like, touchy-feely, feel-good, and then suddenly, like, everybody's feeling out their sexual urges and all. Yeah. I was like, oh, come on.
They had, like, the prom. And...
Yeah, and...
No, but I do like this.
Okay, well, okay, wait, let's go back. What's another title you dropped?
Pretty much all the Green Lanterns that I was collecting.
All the Green Lantern books?
Including Red Lantern.
But I thought you liked Red Lantern.
I did, but
well,
no,
why'd you
I'm
keep
not
reading?
even that interested in that one anymore.
Huh. See, I just got into Green Lantern. And I'm thinking about reading some of the other ones now.
Well, there you go. Now you can take over the mantle for a while.
Because I sat down, you know, last time and read Green Lantern 1 through 11, I think, was out last time we recorded.
So speaking of Green Lantern, where did you start back up again?
I think I've read through the latest issue.
What is it 12 now?
It's 11 or 12.
I'm a month behind.
Yeah.
I just finished my last massive stack and gotta go buy another massive stack, and it's usually about a month's worth. So, so what did you think? Well, I read 8, 9.
I mean, we talked a little bit about it last time we did the show, but it was one of those things where you start reading it, and there's not a lot of explanation. There's just a lot of random stuff going on. It doesn't really seem to make a whole lot of sense, and You think it's about Hal Jordan becoming a Green Lantern again, and it's really not. And there's all this stuff.
It's all
like
about Sinestro.
the Indigo Tribe
Yeah.
and like all this other stuff.
And what did you think about the tie-in with that into Black Lantern and the whole Blackest Night?
Well,
You know, Black Hand.
right? Because it is a new 52, so it's not really clear like what all.
What's kept.
Obviously,
dropped.
some of Blackest Night still existed in this timeline, but
Right.
but there's no telling what part exactly. But I felt that once you got to about issue 8, I think it was 7 or 8, is when they actually sat down and explained everything. So up to that point, like the first couple issues, it's all about Hal and Sinestro and working together, and then it kind of falls into this other thing. And I wasn't really sure what was going on, but I thought I'd keep reading to give it a chance. And then once you get to that final point, where you're actually, they explain everything that's going on with the Indigo Tribe.
Right, how they're actually evil.
And yeah, and all that kind of stuff. Like they've been corrupted by the power and stuff.
Well,
And then once you get through all of that, then I really enjoyed it a whole lot more. And so I'm looking forward to.
well, in a nutshell, basically, Sinestro, God, I can't talk.
Have another beer.
Yeah, Sinestro frees this planet from evil and discovers that the Indigo power, the Indigo power battery, can no, it was Abin Sur. I'm sorry, back up a little bit. It was Abin Sur that did this. Freed this planet, freed the people. Somehow the people have this indigo lantern power, and Abin Sur realized that by using that power, he could turn bad people into more morally sound people.
Right.
So he starts taking, people that he thinks he can save to this planet.
And it becomes like his little secret. It's Abin Sur's
Right.
secret. But then after he dies, then
they're waiting for him to come back. Too.
Yeah.
They don't know he's dead.
And he's gone. So
when Hal Jordan shows up, this ancient one who hasn't been corrupted by the indigo light, who's been watching over the power battery, essentially, is convinced that, Abin Sur has returned, and then there's this whole denial of, what he's there for. And,
Right. So I think it really, you had to kind of slog through a couple issues there to kind of get through the story. But then once you get past that, I was intrigued by the whole.
But the part I really did like was when they started to dip into Blackest Night.
So why are you dropping it?
Well, I might reconsider and keep just Green Lantern, but New Guardians and Core and Red Lantern.
All the peripheral books.
Right.
Right. Okay. Well,
So that's pretty much it for that. How about Daredevil?
I haven't read anything since that crossover.
There's only a couple issues here, so I'll hold off on that.
Oh, you can talk about them if you want.
Well, it was a while since I read
Although,
these.
actually, but there's been like 2 more, I think, since then.
Yeah.
So,
How about Aquaman and Black Manta?
not up to date on Aquaman.
Well, they're duking it out.
Go ahead and talk about it.
Well, supposedly.
Do you like Aquaman?
Oh yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think it's one of those like surprise hits. Since
I mean,
the
I
52.
I read up to 6 or 7.
I mean, what place did Aquaman really have in the DC universe before 52?
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing. He's always been one of those characters. It was hard to define. He's supposed to be a top tier character, on the same level as Flash and Green Lantern, and but I mean, he's just never. They've tried a couple times, and a few writers like Peter David had a pretty good run on him, and they've tried to make him important, but they've just had a very difficult time. So, is that Jeff Johns? Is he writing that one?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, there you go. That's why it works.
No, I like it. I mean, he's still pretty dynamic. I can see. You can almost like feel the limitations though coming. Like how far are they going to go with him? I mean, so. But I'm pretty pleased with it so far. Right now, like him and Black Manta are going at it because supposedly Black Manta killed his father, his surrogate father, and we're for sure that he did kill Black Manta's father. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was Black Manta's father like the original Black Manta, and he killed him or something?
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay then.
Yeah. Well, he was like training him to be. The
I just took a guess.
Yeah.
So okay.
So Pretty much.
That's cool.
I mean, I enjoy the story.
So it's a lot of action in the last few issues then?
Yeah, tons of action.
Because the first 4 or 5 issues really seemed more about the character, like trying to get across who Aquaman was. And I mean, there was some action, but not really, it wasn't like intense fighting and, a lot of, it was more about just figuring out like who Aquaman was and his place in this world.
There was some backstory there, So yeah, no, there is a lot of action in this.
Okay.
And I like the artwork. It flows. When it speeds up, it really does speed up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the one I plan on getting back.
This one's only a monthly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why I'm only on issue 9. So. No, 10. I did 10 too. How about Deadpool? 55, 56?
I'm actually ahead on Deadpool.
Oh, really?
I actually have next week's issue.
Oh.
So I've read up to next week because him and Black Swan are fighting. Issue 56, I think, is the one that comes out this week. So him and Black Dude and like Deadpool. There are times when I think Deadpool seems to be like repeating itself, and maybe I'll stop reading it and letting it go. And then I sit down and actually read an issue of Deadpool, and it's so hilarious.
It's funny.
Most of the time. And it's just like, I gotta keep reading it.
Well, like when he invades the building for the Legion of the Intelligenica. And
With
MODOK.
yeah, I was gonna say with the big head guy.
Yeah.
Is this? Do you have Paste Pot Pete?
Yeah.
Or the Trapster? I think he calls himself now Paste Pot Pete, and Paste Pot Pete actually beats him.
Yeah, because he doesn't have any of his superpowers anymore.
Right.
I mean, Deadpool is just
he got his looks back.
Yeah,
he
just
lost
a
his powers.
regular old mercenary now.
So he's just a guy in a suit.
And he gets all messed up in this issue, and then that leads into.
So I guess it's 57?
Yeah, this is 56.
All right, so 57.
So you must have 57.
Actually, I think I can double check on here. Well, yeah, we're both gonna sit here and flip through stuff while people are just sitting there watching.
No, and in this one, he's teaming up with Taskmaster. Taskmaster is totally setting him up for failure to evade like a shield.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. And there's like the guy with like the giant bazooka or whatever, and he grabs it from him.
And he's fighting those robots.
Yeah, again, like it's a book.
Oh, and he steals the PIM particles. That's what he steals from.
Yeah, again, it's a book that it's not like impactful.
No, it's a pleasant distraction from the normal Marvel books.
Right. I mean, it's one of those books that you can really enjoy without having it feel like, every issue he might die.
I think the joke here is, the Trapster is getting one-ups on him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's definitely the whole point of the joke is that he's this worthless nobody character, because even when he beats him, he's like, I actually beat somebody. Like, I won.
Deadpool.
I actually beat somebody.
Which is funny because I haven't read the number 1 or number 2 yet, but Deadpool
kills the Marvel Universe. Yeah. Actually, I've read number 3 of that.
What do you think?
It's good. It's him in the post-apocalyptic future, and he's just killing everybody in the Marvel Universe. He goes one-on-one with, I think, Wolverine in issue 3, and takes him out. I mean, again,
does he take him out Sabretooth style?
It's like one of those. They always do these kind of stupid stories. Punisher kills the Marvel Universe. Now it's Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. I mean, they don't mean anything. Again, it's just a distraction. It's just something fun to read. But
it's like Marvel Zombies.
Except Marvel Zombies went on way too long. That should have ended like
what's
maybe
the new story arc now?
Dead Days, I think is what it's called. It doesn't matter. I mean,
it doesn't matter.
Once you got past the third, like I would say, if you're gonna read some Marvel Zombie stuff, cool. Read 1, 2, and 3, and then you can pretty much stop there. There's no point in going.
Let's mix it up because I think I had some Comixology in here too.
Well, okay. Let me ask you this: big stories. Have you been reading Avengers vs. X-Men?
I don't think I'm current. No.
Really? Do you know what the last thing was you read?
The last show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you haven't read it in like a month and a half. Then.
No.
Just you don't care.
Eh,
Yeah.
when it passes, it shall pass.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about it.
What about the Ultimates? All the
I
Ultimate books.
I do like the Ultimates, but I'm only. Well, where am I at with the Ultimates? I'm not that far ahead into it. Ultimate Comics, the Ultimates, you mean? Right?
Well, the Ultimate Universe, just in kind of in general.
I think I'm on like issue 8 or 9.
Okay. I've been reading Ultimate Spider-Man
Uh-huh.
since it relaunched the new series with Miles Morales. Because I like the old Spider-Man series, so they, relaunched it with the new character, and I thought, I'll read it, check it out. I enjoy it. But they're doing a crossover between all the Ultimate books. So you read everything with Miles Morales, and it's its own standalone story. And then there's word of this crossover, and I'm like, well, I kind of wanted to read the Ultimates and try it out. So I got all the Ultimates issues, and I sat down and read them all leading up to it, so I know what the crossover is going on. And I mean, it's all right. It's kind of interesting, some stuff here and there. I mean, there's nothing about the Ultimates that makes me want to read it, but there's also nothing that drives me away from reading it. It's just kind of there. I'm like, all right, well, it's fine, no big deal, one way or another. But the crossover, because it's crossing over all 3 books, I'm like, well, I guess I'll read Ultimate X-Men too.
Right.
I mean, I might as well, just be familiar with all 3 different series. So I got all the Ultimate X-Men books and started reading through all of them. And Ultimate X-Men is on a whole different level. Like, Spider-Man is like its own little story over here.
Right.
And then Ultimates is just kind of this little story over here. And then X-Men is like on a whole nother level.
Like much better.
Like, oh, it's incredible. It's incredible. And the crossover really grows out of the story coming out of Ultimate X-Men. Like, it touches on some of the stuff happening in Ultimates, and without Ultimates, some of the stuff in the crossover wouldn't make as much sense, whatever. But, I mean, the core of this crossover and the big story is from Ultimate X-Men.
Huh.
And it's all about the United States being ripped apart. And I don't know if you're familiar, there's a classic X-Men book from several years ago called, oh, God, now, of course, I've lost the name. There's like this preacher, and he makes sentinels, and he's tracking down mutants and killing them. Well, they basically do the ultimate version of that.
So it's like this religious zealous cult creating sentinels.
Except here's the thing.
To kill
Right. Okay. But in the Marvel Ultimate Universe, there aren't really mutants.
Right.
You find out as part, and I'm going to spoil this. So I mean, if you're going to read them, I'm sorry, I'm going to spoil this. But there aren't really any mutants. Like nobody is born with mutant superpowers. It's actually the CIA and all these clandestine government groups
making mutants.
Trying to make ultimate soldiers. So after Captain America, they said, "Oh, well, we want to make more of those." So they make all these different ways. So everyone is actually infected.
A government experiment.
Yeah, they're infected with this super soldier variant. And that's what gives everybody their powers. So what happens is this guy, he actually, as part of this experiment, his power that he's given is that if he touches another so-called mutant, he actually disables the nanites in their body that are giving them their power.
Huh.
So what it looks like is he's curing them of their mutant power.
So he's like a savior.
So yeah, so he's preaching and whatever that he's going to save the mutants, and all he has to do is touch them, and in effect he is curing them because he's killing the virus and stopping the nanites from giving them their powers. So in a sense, he's right, and it works.
So that's what the whole Ultimate Universe is basing
The superpowers.
on.
Right.
Huh.
So, but what happens is
different interpretation than the regular Marvel universe, where it's actually like a natural evolution.
So what happens is he grabs these Sentinel robots, and there's like this whole backstory of all this different stuff where he's going to die, and his consciousness gets sent out through Cerebro, Professor X's
so he
computer.
can touch everybody.
Well, what happens is this guy's powers go through Cerebro, but instead of going to the mutants, he sends his mind to all the Sentinels. And so all the Sentinels get his personality and his drive to rid the world of mutants.
Oh, so they're going around.
And so what happens is they have like this prison in like New Mexico where they've been hoarding mutants and holding them prisoner or whatever. And the Sentinels just start to take over the Southwest United States and just start moving out. And the United States government like sends in the Ultimates, whatever, tries to stop them, and they can't stop them. And basically the government starts to fall apart. The president gets murdered. Vice president gets murdered. All of Congress gets murdered. Like the Secretary of Natural Resources or Secretary of Energy, whoever he is, he's like on this windmill farm and he's talking to some guy, and also all these like SUVs pull up and they're like, "Well, we're swearing you in. You're the new president." And he's like, "What? You're like, what are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, Washington D.C.'s gone. Like it's been nuked. Everyone's dead. So you're all that's left." Texas is like, "Well, you know, we're our own country now. Forget you guys."
Wow.
You know, and the United States is just kind of falling apart, and so that's the crossover. Well, in the Ultimate books, it doesn't really talk about any of this stuff going on with the Sentinels and everything. In Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, he's just swinging around New York. Like, he's fine. Nobody cares. So all of this stuff really grows out of the Ultimate X-Men books. So the Ultimate X-Men books are really good and really worth checking out. And they're the ones that really set up that
So is it
story.
going to stick with the other books, though?
Well, yeah. As part of this crossover, it's like as soon as the Sentinels go loose in the southwestern United States, that's when it ripples to the other books. Because they can kind of be on their own and it doesn't really affect stuff. But then as soon as they branch out and start to go nuts and everything, that's when it becomes the crossover and everybody gets involved.
But Spider-Man was bitten by a spider. He wasn't given nanites.
Well, except like his powers are somehow, I don't know. Maybe the experiment is somehow set up with the super soldier. I don't know. But I mean, that's kind of the thing. So I mean, the idea is that all of these mutants, like all the X-Men, are just people that have this thing in them.
Deprogrammed.
Yeah, there's no evolution, and that's part of the storyline too. Because suddenly they're all like, "Well, we thought we were the next step in humanity, and now it turns out we're all just a bad science experiment." And that drives a bunch of them to go nuts and whatever.
Huh. Interesting.
So yeah, definitely.
I was very apprehensive to pick up the book. Now I want to pick it up.
Yeah. So as far as they go, if you want to read the Ultimates, it's okay. Go ahead and read it. I mean, you're not going to feel bad for reading it, but it's not going to be like the greatest thing you ever read. But if you read Ultimate X-Men, that's great.
The whole story with Reed Richards landing this super society,
the super city,
from the future.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
It
wipes out part of Europe and. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good story.
And it's also interesting because we were reading Ultimate FF from several years ago.
Right.
And so here's the character years later. I haven't read all the stuff in between. I've got all the volumes of Ultimate FF, but we've only read 1 through 4 or something, 1 through 6.
I think I stopped at 10.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like one of those things we'll get to eventually, I guess, but just haven't kept up on it. So.
Okay.
Can you grab me another beer while you're there? Over there?
Vintage Boosh
Yeah,
bottles.
just grab me 2 while you're there. Grab me 2. That's how we're rolling. Yes, I'm going to drink both at once. I'm going to do it porn star style.
What's that, Dirk?
I don't know. What? All right. What are you going to talk about now?
The Activity
Sure.
by Nathan Edmondson and Mitch Gertis? How would you say it? Gurids? Jurids?
Gerads?
Gerads? Okay.
Gerads.
Gerads. Good book. It's like counter-terrorist espionage, black ops, Born Identity.
Well, we talked about.
Yeah.
We talked about
That's
what?
pretty much it.
1 through 4 or 1 through 5 last time.
Yeah.
I thought it slowed down a lot, that one issue.
We only talked about the first couple issues, I think, and then I finished it up to 5.
Oh, that's right. The latest story arc has them in Holland or some.
Well, no, Colombia.
Is it Colombia?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were in Europe.
No, Colombia, and then it ends into. It always tells you the last issue where they're going next.
Uzbekistan.
Now you make me flip pages.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I'm on the last page. So
No, Taiwan.
Wait, is 7?
Okay. Well, you're ahead of me then.
You've only read up to 4?
5. I just don't know where 5 is.
Oh, 7 is the latest issue.
Okay, I'm a little behind. Still
See
like,
what I have to put up with
still
this
like
guy?
the books though. I think it's funny how it's got like the terminologies in the back. It like explains all the different.
Yeah, again,
acronyms.
I wish that was throughout the book. Like, I wish they would do the standard comic thing where there's the little star and it's at the bottom of the page.
You
Instead of
just
being
don't like
all the
having
way
to
to
flip
the
back.
end.
Okay, the Avengers with Novar betraying
I haven't read it.
the Avengers. Okay.
I stopped reading Avengers monthly.
What? Really?
Yeah.
I thought you're still a big fan of the Avengers.
No, I've been reading Avengers versus X-Men, but I just stopped reading regular Avengers.
Well, it definitely does not really tie in.
There's a giant AVX logo at the top. It's got to tie in.
I mean, well, it does, but it does stand alone as well. I don't know.
One thing about Avengers versus X-Men is that they pass a lot of time without really, like, it's one of those things where they're fighting and they're fighting and they're fighting, and then they run away, and then it's like 6 days later.
Well, for example,
It's like-
here he betrays the Avengers, and then goes back to his Kree homeworld, to basically, because that he served his purpose on Earth.
Why did he betray the Avengers?
Um,
Did it have anything to do with the Phoenix power?
yes. Yes.
So what about the Phoenix power made him betray the Avengers? Well, you're supposed to read them before we do the show.
I did.
Not just look at the cover and guess what the story is.
No. No, oh, I know what it was. He took the device that was supposed to be able to help stop the Phoenix Force. Like, somehow they were able to steal a little bit of the Phoenix power, the Avengers were, and they had it in this device that they were going to use to, like, stop the Phoenix Force.
So he stole it
He stole
so
it.
that his people could have the Phoenix power?
Right.
Okay.
And then once Novar figures out, oh, I screwed up, I shouldn't have done this, because, the Kree people are going to use this to, like, they don't care about the Earth, And, he's like, well, I was sworn to protect the Earth. And they're like, no, you were sworn to serve us. You've served us, now go away. So then he tries to basically double turn. And at this point, though, the Avengers are like,
They
yeah,
don't trust
right,
him.
yeah. So they beat the heck out of him.
I do remember flipping through this.
And I really liked Novar, so it kind of like upsets me that
that he's off
they
the team.
took this turn with him. He's never going to be
A
trusted. by
heel
anyone.
turn, as
Yeah.
they call it in wrestling. A heel turn.
Right.
He went from babyface to heel. No, I remember, I think this issue and the issue before, flipping through them and being very disappointed in the artwork. Because Walt Simonson is doing the pencils in this, and he's a really good artist. But something about Scott Hanna is the guy doing the inks, and something about it just makes it look so sloppy with him inking it. And just a lot of the panels where it's, I don't know, just like the people standing around talking, and it just looks like it's been
Rushed.
yeah, like they spent all of about 2 minutes, inking those panels, and just kind of moved on.
Like here, Thor looks kind of unfinished.
Well, and like just some of this stuff, look at these faces at the top of the page where they're all just kind of, like they're sketched in. They put enough detail that you know who the
Who
character
they are,
is.
and then that's about it.
Yeah.
I do like this story. I'm just disappointed that Novar is now a heel, as you say. So, Nightwing. I'm very much losing interest in Nightwing.
I haven't read since Night of the Owls.
I'm just.
Night of the Owls really kind of upset me with the whole State of the Batman books. I put a lot of time and effort into reading all of those and collecting all of those, and then it turned out to really be useless outside of Batman. I mean, Nightwing, it was pretty good with also, but just overall, like a lot of that stuff, it was just like, come on.
Same thing with Suicide Squad. Basically, Harley Quinn's back.
Actually, I have been catching up with those.
This is 8, 9, and 10.
Did you read the episode of Resurrection Man that tied into?
No.
Okay.
You mean the issue?
Oh, the episode, right? That TV series. Yeah, the issue of Resurrection Man. Because basically, at the end
in issue 9.
At the end of 9, they're fighting him, and like this group called the Body Doubles is about to attack, and then the book ends, and then you open up 10, and there's a hand floating in a tank, and it's just like, wait, what? Like, what the hell? So you have to read Resurrection Man to find out like there's this whole battle that goes on, all this government agencies screwing each other over, and then they end up just cutting. They kill him. Resurrection Man. The gimmick is you kill him, and then he comes back to life with a new set of superhero powers, and his body like repairs the damage. And Amanda Waller, who's had a Suicide Squad, decides she wants to figure out how that power works because that'd be a nice ability to bring someone back from the dead. So they kill him and they cut his hand off, and then release him, out to whoever. And they have this hand there so that they can try to figure out how to get his regeneration powers. So it's like DC is trying to make their own version of Wolverine based off that regeneration power. Now, what they do with it, whatever. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say that's the one I just started reading. There's a mole inside of Suicide Squad.
Yeah, they know that somebody is definitely the mole, and also there's a period where Harley Quinn like reverts back to when she's like a psychologist.
Right, who she was before she met the Joker, and
it's like she does like a factory reset.
One thing I will say about Suicide Squad is I like the way it's not afraid to be brutal about a lot of stuff. Like there's this one storyline
like when they're in the arena.
Well, no, I was gonna say there's the guy who's holding a bunch of board members hostage in a corporate boardroom. And so they go in, they're supposed to get this guy who's got, like guns on his wrists, whatever, he's holding people hostage. And so they go in to extract the guy. And then they pull up files on all the people he's holding hostage and all the people he's holding hostage they don't like.
Right.
They're like, those people are kind of dirtbags. So they kick the door open and he grabs somebody and he's like, hey, you better back off or I'm going to blow their brains out. And they're like, yeah, we don't care, blam.
Right.
And then they just turn to everyone else in the room, blam, 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 blam. All right, they're all dead. Now what are you going to do?
Yep.
I mean, I like the fact that they're willing to do that kind of stuff because you don't see characters who do that type of
Well, it brings up the worst in characters like Harley Quinn, which like unlocks her potential as being kind of a more dynamic character.
I've never really cared for Harley Quinn.
I like her.
A lot of people are always
she's
like...
the only thing that really saved me to read this far into Suicide Squad.
And she's a character I've just never really cared about. She first appeared in the Batman cartoons. I mean, that's where she came from, and they added her into the comics. And people are always like, oh, she's such a great character. But I'm like, I don't care for her really much at all. Not much now, and I never really cared for her before. Like, she was just the Joker's sidekick, whatever. But, I mean, just because you have a chick who dresses up doesn't make her appealing to me. So, I mean, it's like, whatever. But I could live without her.
And then, how about Flash?
How about Flash?
Flash in Gorilla City.
Oh, yeah, I don't care about Gorilla City that much.
They kind of lost me a little bit there.
Yeah, although, isn't he back now? Aren't you behind? Are you behind again?
Issue 10.
Issue 11.
Okay. Not that far behind.
11 is the latest issue.
Yeah, I'm about a month behind. We're basically the elder Rod Apes have determined
Okay.
that he was like
Yeah. You're in the past. You're living in the past, buddy.
What?
Because Barry Allen is dead.
What?
Yes, Barry Allen is dead. Flash is alive, but he allowed the Barry Allen character, secret identity, to die.
Yeah. No,
and
I knew that.
He's working as a bartender in the slums of the city.
Well, I haven't got the part where he's working as a bartender.
Okay, well, see, you're behind. Because he's working as the bartender in this bar, and a fight breaks out between the supervillains.
Okay.
Like, he's hanging out as a bartender in a supervillain bar. Like, that's his new secret identity.
So that's how he's spying on.
So that's how he's getting all the information about what's going on and whatever. And then, of course, like, this fight breaks out between the two supervillains. He's like, well, so he like gets into a fight with one of them so that they chuck him through the plate glass window so that he can turn into Flash and zip back in and take care of it. But it's kind of this neat twist that now I forget, he calls himself like Joe somebody, and he's just there to basically spy on the villains, figure out what's going on. He's just trying to live like like his human life doesn't matter. His Flash life is
So,
what
well,
matters.
how do you feel about the last 3 or 4 issues of Flash have been kind of standalone one shots? Do you like that, or do you kind of miss that the whole time speed thing's been kind of like put on hold?
Well, I mean, once they got to the issue of Flash where he was traveling through the time dimension and he met like the World War II bomber pilot and everything, I kind of like lost interest in a lot of that storyline. I thought it was more interesting when it was his best friend who could make multiples of himself and then they would die off and whatever. Like that was kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, they kind of lost me for a while. And Gorilla City, I don't care about Gorilla City, Gorilla Grodd. I've never cared about the character and all that stuff. So once they got back from that and that was over, I was fine. You know, you can go back to stealing my Wi-Fi.
I'm gonna have to.
Well, let me see here. So you have not been keeping up on Watchmen, right?
No,
Before
I read
Watchmen?
like most of the #1 ones, and then
Okay. Comedian and Silk Spectre, I can still live without. I mean, I'm reading them because they're coming out, but I mean, they're not really doing much for me. Ozymandias, so far, I really like. I think that one's good, but my favorite is Night Owl. And part of it is Rorschach being in the storyline. But Night Owl 1 and 2, so far, those are my favorites of what's coming out with before Watchmen. And I think Ozymandias is pretty good, but Comedian and Silk Spectre just not doing it for me. Not at all. Nothing.
so,
Like, I could take them or leave them. Don't mean anything for me. Have you been reading Justice League International?
no, I stopped.
Okay. They just
Booster
wrapped it up.
Gold's the leader, right?
Right.
Still.
They just wrapped up their main series. They're going to have an annual coming out with something going on with the characters, and then they say that the characters aren't done. Like they haven't given up on the characters, but they just haven't said what they're going to be doing next.
So Justice League International was weak at best the way that they were all formed together, and it was pretty much kind of like the running joke in the comic.
Is that they were all just kind of forced together?
Yeah,
by
they
the
were all
United
forced
Nations?
together, and nobody could ever really become a true leader. And Booster Gold had to kind of step up and become the leader of the group and make the good decisions. And I was starting to get bored at that point. It's like I wanted them to be like, okay, team, now,
Well, actually, Rocket Red.
engage.
Rocket Red got killed, and once he died, then they seemed to come back together as a team a lot more. They also had to deal with a lot of the issues where a couple of them end up in the hospital. So they go to the hospital to check on them, and the people at the hospital are like, get out of here. They're like, what are you talking about? We're heroes. And it's like, no, wherever you go, people fight.
Right.
And that made a couple of them kind of question the resolve and had to work through it. And so it did get into a lot more character stuff then. And once it got into that, it got a little more interesting.
Well, how about Legends of the Dark Knight? You read any of that?
No. You know, I've got the first 3 or 4 of them
Yeah.
sitting there to be read. I just haven't read them yet. What do you think of it?
I thought the first one was amusing. It's a very quick read. It's like,
Well, it's only a 99-cent book.
right,
So.
which is kind of fun sometimes to be able to just pick up a quick, fun 99-cent book. And if that's, I mean, it's well worth the 99 cents.
Well, what's it about?
Well,
I mean,
don't know.
obviously it's
I've
Batman,
only read
right?
the first one, so I don't know. But I kind of liked it. Basically, it starts off on the first one where Batman's jumping from rooftop to rooftop, reflecting about his profession basically, and the criminals that he fights and
Is it more of a light-hearted?
well, no, it's pretty dark. It's actually very dark because there's a portion in the comic where Batman's reflecting a story that he had with Alfred about not being fearless and having this kind of invincible attitude. So it goes back to Batman, jumping on the rooftops, and he sees this person being mugged, or no, a family being mugged in an alley.
Oh,
And it's just like his parents,
Right.
And so he goes down there to kick their butts, but then he gets his butt kicked. And in the end, they leave, and Alfred shows up, and he's like, haha, see, you're not invincible. And then takes him home to like bandage him up.
That's weird.
So he like hired these people to like.
So Alfred hired people to basically kick
Test
Batman's
him.
ass.
To test him.
So okay. So did he lose the fight because he was too focused on the fact that this is just how his parents died?
No. I think that weakness brought it out. I think that made him weak, as well as just the fact that he thought that he could not be fooled, and he was fooled. So.
All right. What else? What else you got?
Well, I was just scanning through Comixology here, and I just thought I'd throw that one out there. I read something called Aluna by. Oh, shoot. Well, I'm trying to get to the beginning page here.
Was it something you bought or something?
Yeah, I bought it. Further Lane.
Further Lane Publishing?
Yeah.
Aluna?
Yeah, it's a story. It's kind of a myth. Not really.
Medieval?
Not many. It's during like Columbus days.
Okay.
This woman has been trained since she was like really young to fight.
I'm glad you cleared your mind on what this is about in preparation of this show.
When it turns out that they end up going like to the Americas or something, and it turns out that she has these like special powers that basically are like engaged as soon as like she sets foot on the Americas.
So does America give her the powers?
Yeah, like the land gives her the powers.
So
like,
is she like anti-colonial? Well, no, she's fighting the Indians there. So.
The part I apologize I don't remember very clearly is how she ended up on the boat and why, But I do know that once she gets there, and she like basically it's like they're in like Florida or something, they discover Florida.
They go to Disney World.
Yeah.
Get some oranges.
Yeah. I don't know. I just try something different. Okay.
So, are you gonna read number 2? Like, was it good enough to buy the next issue to keep reading it?
Maybe.
Wow.
Maybe.
What a wonderful conclusion you've drawn one way or another.
The collected edition is only like $4.99.
So is it issues 1 and 2 together then?
I'm trying to see here.
So you have them both?
It's not popping up. No. I was just noticing that there is a collected edition. So, I mean, if you're interested in getting more than one, it's 66 pages, so yeah. Doesn't say how many issues it is. So.
Well, it said 1 of 2 when you open the first one. So that would be 2 issues. 1 of 2 would make it 2.
For $4.99, yeah. I mean, after reading the first one, I think it's worth getting 2.
Have you read Captain Adam?
I am about
Did you give
6
up?
issues behind.
Did you keep buying it? So you've got them there to read?
I've got them, yes.
Okay.
I just haven't read them.
Captain Adam, I sat down this past week and basically, there's a bunch of stuff this past week I just kind of sat down and read like runs of. And Captain Adam was one of those because it was a series. It's ending, so they're gonna wrap it up and finish it. But it's one of those series that I was always kind of intrigued by the character. But as part of the New 52, he was radically changed. There were major changes done to the character, and so I was interested to see what the changes were. But it was one of those books where the first couple issues. It's like stuff happened, but it seemed like they were happening for no reason, right. and it was hard to like a volcano appears in New York City, and he's got to stop it. It's like what
Not fair fireworks.
Oh, is that fireworks?
Yeah.
I thought maybe a whole bunch of people just got shot. But it's like one of those things where it's like why is he fighting a volcano in New York City?
Well, it's like to test his powers.
Stupid. Well,
it's like did that just to put it in there to test his powers.
But it didn't really have. But it's like, but why is there a volcano? It's like I understand. He gets attacked by the government. There's like this general who's out to get him,
but then he needs him.
And then like this like rat creature appears in a small town and starts eating the people and turning them into like this big mass of protoplasm and like whatever. And you're just kind of reading this stuff and it's like, well, it's like that's all right, whatever. But then
See, I saw it as they were trying to define the science of
well,
him.
okay, I mean, yes,
Because he had to like scientifically approach how he was going to
right.
solve all
But I
these
mean, here's the
problems.
question: like, why was there a volcano in New York City?
It doesn't matter.
Why was this
That
mutated
doesn't
rat
matter.
creature? Well, but you find out later on it does, because as you get past, once you get into like issues, I guess like 5 and 6, it starts to explain that all this weird stuff that has been happening is his fault. Like it's connected to him. It keeps happening around him because he's the reason why. So a lot of this stuff, like this rat creature,
Well, there's the
this rat creature is because of him. It's an offshoot of his powers. He starts doing this like time traveling stuff as the issues go by. Issues 7, 8, 9, 10 all kind of work together with this time travel thing, and there's a lot of neat stuff talking about time travel and paradoxes. These future versions of Captain Atom come back and recruit this younger version, and they say that like in 20 years the world is going to blow up and be destroyed.
right.
The problem is these other Captain Atoms are from a future beyond that.
So how are they?
Exactly. So how are they still in existence if the world is destroyed before that? So something messes with the time stream. And so he says, well, if you guys are so smart, so much more powerful, why don't you stop it? And they say, we can't because it's in the past. We can't change it. You're from farther in the past. This is in your future. So you can affect it. We can't. So it's a lot of that kind of like weird Back to the Future Part 2, alternate timeline stuff kind of going on. And I dig that kind of stuff. I really enjoy that type of stuff in these storylines. So I was really enthralled by it.
It gets a little confusing though because there's a lot of alternate reality.
There is different versions of him, and what are the limits of his powers, and what exactly does it mean, and all this kind of stuff.
Kind of remind me a little bit of like Fantastic Four, a little bit, just like
what the cartoony science of it.
Yes,
I can see that. But it did get interesting. And again, it's one of those books that you have to kind of get through the introductory period before the storyline starts paying off, which has worked against it because they're now canceling the title because the sales dropped off, after those first couple issues, which is a shame because if people had stuck with it, the storyline gets really good.
There's like a Vishnu Captain America.
Right, that's him. That's another version of him in the future.
Captain Adam.
And it's going to be ending, I think, with issue 12, and then there's a 0 issue and then a 12, or a 12 and then a 0 issue.
Why even bother with this 0 issue?
Because DC's milking everything. All the books that are getting canceled are getting a 0 issue, and all the new titles that are launching are getting a 0 issue, so there's going to be extra issues that month, 0 month. But, I mean, I don't want to spoil what exactly is going on with this storyline. But it again ties into the fact that
it's all his fault.
It's all his fault, and it's all connected to him, and it all revolves around him, and everything that's been happening from like the volcano, like all of that gets explained as being because of him and his powers and playing with the time stream, and everything in one way or another is a piece of the big puzzle.
So what Captain Atom and the Flash are trying to tell you is, don't mess with time, people. You know what?
I think a lot of people have been trying to make that point for a long
Don't try to put
time.
your flux capacitor in your DeLorean and go 88 miles an hour.
Well, if you saw Time After Time with David Warner and the guy who played Caligula, whose name Malcolm McDowell, then you know better than to mess with time. It never works out.
No.
Never works out.
Just stay home.
But
Pass,
so anyway,
pass the time listening to us, watching us.
Captain Atom.
That's what you should be doing.
I really enjoyed the progress of Captain Atom as I stuck with it and read through it. Having said that, another series I sat down and reread the entire thing.
Oh, that's right. You challenged me to read up on Action Comics, and I failed you.
You failed.
I failed you. Only on issue 11.
Well, I mean, you're close. Yeah. Okay, here's the thing with Action Comics. Like, Action Comics started with like this clear vision of what was going on. You had
5 years in the past from regular Superman.
Clark Kent in the past, first starting his powers, first starting out, running around Metropolis, just randomly kind of being tested by Lex Luthor.
Bubbling into.
Well, and Lex Luthor is trying to, capture him and find out the limits of his powers, and he's, whatever. And all of that was interesting. Then you get to this point where Brainiac, or Terminus, I guess they call him, Terminus comes, and he's affected by Brainiac, whatever. There's like this interlude where the Legion of Superheroes and Superman from the future come, and they're stealing part of the ship that Superman came to Earth on, but then all that goes away, and then there's this alternate universe where there's a black Superman, and then that goes away, and then it comes back to Superman, and there's this guy hunting him because he's like this big game hunter,
right?
Who's trying to, and it's like, there was a vision. Like, there was this clear-cut storyline of what's happening, kind of explaining him and who he is and where he's from and his relationships with everybody in Metropolis. And then it just, like, I don't know if...
I think it was about issue 7 when I started to lose him.
Well, like, 5 and 6 is where it got on the first interlude. And then 7, it tried to get back on track. But then only 7 and 8 got back on track. And then 9 went off track again. And then 10, it comes back. And I don't know if it's like the artists couldn't keep up and keep a monthly schedule, so they just started doing fill-in issues or what the deal was. But it's like there was some thread of promise, and they completely lost it. Like, it's one of those things where maybe in the future when they collect it, they'll collect like 1 through 4, and then 7 and 8,
right?
And then 10, 11, 12.
Right.
And then, 14 and 16, 17, 18, and that'll make one cohesive storyline, and you can chuck out all that other crap, and because none of that stuff really matters.
So you didn't like Black Superman, the alternate reality.
I mean, it didn't serve any purpose, like none. It served no purpose whatsoever. I mean, except to maybe play off the whole like, well, Superman's basically the same. Doesn't matter if he's black or white or on this or that. You know what I mean?
Purple, onion.
But onion. Wow. If that's the point you're trying to make, then I guess you've made it. But that kills the momentum of the storyline. So, I mean, as far as Action Comics goes, there's some promise there, but I'm really disappointed in the overall product and the way it's come together.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I just felt like I was lost, and I thought maybe there's something wrong, so I started at the beginning and read it, and it's just because they dropped the ball. Like, they started out so strong, and then they just kind of meandered off on all these tangents, and they just kind of killed the momentum. And, now I don't even know if I'm going to continue on, really. I mean, it's again, like you were talking about dropping books, and I'm looking at this like, I love Superman. Action Comics is, a series I read.
Let's face it, if you're a serious collector, we all work hard for our money. You gotta kind of figure out where you're gonna put your money. Especially in a hobby like this. It's a lot like collecting anything else. Like,
my Franklin mint plates with like the precious moments guys.
Yeah.
Like
those mean a lot to you, right?
Right, but they keep making them. Like after a while, I had to stop. I was like, how many crying little boys in blue pajamas do I need? You know what I mean? It's, I've got 20, 30 of them. Around the house.
Well, Raimi, he came over. The old man, Turd Ferguson.
Okay.
He's really into model collecting, and he had
like supermodels, like
no, like models, scale models.
Oh, okay.
But then it gets to a point, it's like, where am I going to invest my money? It kind of crosses over in other hobbies too, I guess, what I'm getting at. So I mean, and a part of the sole purpose of starting Comiholics back in the day, which was a few years ago, believe that
was what?
That we were going to cover more indie stuff, not stuff that's just on the front.
Well, yeah, but then DC does their whole reboot, and that kind of took over.
So I guess what I'm getting back to is I think a lot of readers out there are kind of reevaluating. Okay, New 52 started. Most of them are up to like 10, 11, 12 issues now. They're either going to succeed or they're not going to succeed by the 10th issue. So I mean, that's a good assessment of whether or not you're going to collect it.
Well, what do you think about Marvel now? Marvel's getting ready to relaunch all of their books. You know, every month there's going to be like 3 or 4 of them are going to get a #1 for like the next 6 months. So over the next 6 months, you're going to get 3 or 4 #1s every month. New writers, new artists, new direction. The Avengers are all going to change. The X-Men books are all going to change. Fantastic Four is all going to change.
You know, I guess I've lost so much interest lately that I'm probably going to collect my core books and keep those going. But other than that, I don't know if I pick up anything else extra just because the writer has changed. You know, so I'm interested to see what they're gonna, where they're gonna go with that. But
well, let's talk about some small press stuff. Like, what about, you've read a couple Transformers. You've read some Star Trek.
I was going to ask you Star Trek. Let's
some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think you've read some of that. So let's talk about some of those.
What about the Star Trek Ongoing, which is kind of based on...
Although, did all 3 books I mentioned, are those all IDW?
I know Star Trek is.
And Turtles is IDW. What was the other one I just mentioned?
Well, let's talk about Star Trek.
Let's talk about Star Trek. Talk about Star Trek. Tell me something about Star Trek.
Well, the last issue was based on the Tribbles.
Right, the Trouble with Tribbles.
Yes. So they're all an interpretation of the classic episodes, the TV episodes.
I noticed. Okay, what they've been doing with the Star Trek series is they've been taking the original episodes from the TV show.
Well, spawning from the new movie,
right,
and going into
they're taking which
is a good launching point because the new movie is basically them all starting out as cadets.
Right, because the new movie is like the pilot episode of the new Star Trek, right? So they're taking these classic shows from the original series, doing them with the new cast and the new timeline and everything, and for the most part, a lot of them are the same. I mean, it's like Uhura and Spock are dating, but otherwise, there's not really a whole lot of difference in a lot of these.
I had to stand up, my feet were falling.
But I noticed that for the first time, I think it's for the first time with issue 11, they changed the title of the episode. Because
the original series?
Of the original series. Because it was always just taking...
You're a much bigger nerd to know.
I know. I'm a huge Star Trek
Did you do your research, or did you just actually know that from heart?
I actually knew that just from...
Wow.
Because the original episode is called The Trouble with Tribbles.
Okay.
And the comic is called The Truth About Tribbles.
Okay.
So it's still the Tribbles... So
it's an origin story.
It's still the Tribbles, storyline. I mean, it's still, based off that same episode and those same characters and everything. But it is, like now it's different. This is the first time that it's really kind of pushing itself in a different direction. And the funny thing is, this happened, this comes out about the same time one of the executive producers of the new movie came out and said, they're working on a second movie. Star Trek II is going to be coming out. Someone asked him about the comics, and they said, what do you think about the comics that are coming out? And he said the comics are important. Oh. He said all the comics, they are working with IDW. All the storylines that you read in the comics
weight with the movie?
Count. Yeah. Like this is the story. So when the next movie comes out, it's going to be 2 years or whatever since the first movie. And these comics are actually telling the story of what happens in between the movies.
Oh, okay.
So everything that happens in these comics is part of the actual canon, the storyline of what's happening between the two.
Well, I think the fans will really enjoy the value of that because I think if you're a much bigger Star Trek fan than me probably. What do you think of the ongoing?
Oh, I love it. I mean, yeah, definitely.
Because that was my reaction. I mean, I was re-inspired by the new movie that came out.
Yeah.
And this just kind of fed the fire. So if anything, I think the producers of the new movie should be grateful this comic book exists because it's kind of like keeping it alive until the next movie,
But I think they need to push it harder. Like
push the movie harder?
Well, no, push the comic series. Like they need to point out to more people that you need to be reading this comic, especially if you like the movies, because it counts. Like it's all important. Right. It's part of the story. But
Did he really like beam it to his nephew in San Francisco?
Well, no. Okay, here's the thing. In the
The
original
Tribble.
series, they stop at a star base, and the Tribbles are already there,
Oh,
and they buy him and bring
That's
him aboard.
right.
In this one, they actually find like the Tribble home world, and
Right.
they like the Enterprise is the ship that discovers the Tribbles.
infected ship.
Yeah, so it's a little different. So it's following that same thread, but this is the first time it really
And
branches
Scotty
out.
didn't ask Captain Kirk's permission either to beam it onto.
Well, because they're so cute. Who's going to say no to a Tribble? It's like a little toupee that's all your own. So anyway, yeah, like I mean, I love Star Trek, but then I love Star Trek. So
Did we talk about this before? Do you remember when they did the Star Trek cartoon?
the animated series?
Yes.
Yeah, we've discussed it a little bit.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. I think you didn't like it so much or something.
It was okay. I just yeah, it was alright. It was okay. What about Voltron? Have you read Voltron at all?
What issue are we on now? I haven't read year one.
Okay, well, I kind of think year one is the better series.
Okay.
It's the spinoff, unless people are going to pay attention to it. But I actually think year one has a better story of the space explorers and how they became, part of the government group. How they, were trained. How they became, basically, the space explorers in the cartoon are just these guys who kind of bubble around. They fight with these lions until they realize that they're all getting their butt kicked, and then they become Voltron and they save the day. And that's just kind of how the storyline goes. In year one, you find out that these are actually like army guys. You don't just put someone onto a spaceship and send them out into outer space.
You're not going to put them in a giant space lion and be like, here you go?
Well, no, but before they became, they were part of the Galaxy Alliance. Before they found Voltron, these are army guys. These guys are trained to be killers. They're trained to be, snipers, to go in and extract people out and get into firefights. And it really kind of lays that storyline down. And so year one does a really good job of kind of giving them all unique voices, kind of putting together the fact that these are intelligent people. Like they have been chosen, to be part of this group for a reason.
Well, don't you think that kind of like the main Voltron story is basically centered around...
It is Zarkon. It's Zarkon's
Zarkon.
story. Yeah, the main Voltron book is really Zarkon's story.
So that's Zarkon. So it's kind of like explaining the bad. Explaining the bad.
What was that? Yeah, the main book explains the bad guy, whereas the
Year
secondary title, which nobody pays attention to, is really the book that...
About the heroes.
Right. That's really the good book. I don't know, anything else you want to discuss here real quick?
Unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff I wanted to read before the show, but I just did not get to it. So that's it, folks. Not a huge stack for me today.
All right, well, here, I'll give a preview. Then next time we're going to talk about Hulk, Red Hulk. We're going to talk about some Transformers next time we come around. And we'll probably talk about Amazing Spider-Man next time.
And I'm going to do Deadpool
Kills the Marvel
Kills
Universe.
the Marvel Universe. Winter Soldier. I want to start reading up on that since I haven't read any of it and I have most of it. Anything else here?
Maybe I'll read Superman and just kind of catch up on Superman.
Scarlet Spider. I'm behind on that. I'd like to catch up on that. Maybe even like get current on Morning Glories. We haven't talked about that in a while.
Yeah, I quit that one.
Did you?
I gave up on it.
Okay.
So.
All-Star Superman. Have you read all that?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Okay. I'm about halfway through.
They did a movie. They did an animated movie based off All-Star Superman.
Did they?
Yeah. Kind of sucked because they left out my favorite parts.
Hmm.
All right, well, we're going to take a commercial break. We're about an hour into the show right now, so we're going to take a break.
Are we going to cover all three? We have three titles that we read for review. Freedom, Pigs, and Rachel
Well,
Rising.
Freedom was one book.
Okay.
It was one issue.
Save it.
Well, you can talk about it if you want. Talk about it now. It's one issue.
Well, I don't have it here. So.
Well, where is it?
It's in the Comiholics HQ. I know. I'm not prepared. So, when we come back,
When we come back, we will talk about pigs and Rachel Rising.
All right.
But not freedom.
No.
Because Potato Head here didn't grab the issue.
We'll be back. It's okay. It's all right. No, it's like a monkey.
So here's the thing. When you live in the apocalypse hillbilly neighborhood, you just get random winos.
That's right.
And hobos.
That's right.
That wander into the shop. So this alcoholic homeless guy,
Mr. Alcoholic homeless guy.
just decided to join our show. And why do you have a soundtrack?
Oh,
it's a soundtrack of his
listen
life.
to blues
It's
here.
boring.
Wait, what was that? 6078? What's that? Wait.
976
Jimi
boys.
Hendrix, yeah.
What?
Once I had a woman. Jimi Hendrix.
Once.
I think he had more than one.
Well, yeah, she's still in the house.
My mother
No, I mean
shot
Jimi
me in the
Hendrix.
ass once. Once.
I think she had the wrong plumbing.
Okay, tough guy.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So what's up?
Yeah, we just
You
we
haven't
did-
been here for a couple episodes.
I know, man.
Where have you been?
I've been on
Well, yeah, I mean, we knew that. I mean, that's why you
Well,
were
under
on
the
the
advice
first
of
place.
my attorney and my doctors, I
I
was
thought that
advised
was-
to stay home.
I thought that was the classic condition that brought you to us in the first place.
Well, actually, my accountant said I had to be legally dead for 2 months for tax purposes.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
So
that makes
the
sense.
IRS is off my ass. Hey, IRS, here's one of those for you.
No, wait. Oh, man. No,
I can't do that. I'm so sorry.
Oh, now we gotta do some editing.
Sorry, Dirt.
So, all right, you're all gonna see like
Okay, I'll keep my hands down.
you're all gonna see like a cut, and it's gonna like go back.
That never happened.
When will then be now? Soon.
What?
Later.
I don't know. What are you like? Am I done with this 12-pack yet, or what's?
No.
Oh. Hold
Got
on.
more in there?
Hold on.
Because I could
You're
use
even
one.
over
Or
that one.
I'm almost. Look, it's almost done. That's like 2
Half
drinks.
full.
I know. There's 2 drinks. There's 2
Oh.
drinks left.
Oh.
Oh, it's on a mission.
Dun, 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 dun. I'm getting the torpedo out.
Dang.
Dang.
There.
Dang old torpedo.
Did I just throw it on the concrete?
Dude. Oh.
It smells like sick, wrapped in vomit.
There was actually
Shite would say that stinks.
there was actually a pretty big gap of time in between part 1 and part 2, and I'm not exactly sure what happened, but we are not allowed in at least 4 states now.
Right. Shh. There'll be a lot of bleeping, editing, cutting.
No. Keep it clean. Keep it clean.
Keep it
You are
clean.
not animals.
Okay. Well,
This is a fine show.
all
This
right.
is
hey, the kids. Think of the kids.
when I run for office.
Whose
Oh,
office?
What?
dog catcher?
Yes. I'm actually running for crematorium janitor.
Oh, nice.
And, but that's an elected office.
You know, I've been reading all these books. I plan on being head greenskeeper in about 5 years. So,
Good luck with that,
You
Carl.
can't do it in 5.
all
Take
right.
At least 12.
Why
All right.
are we
Um,
here? What are we
Well,
doing?
we're here to talk about something.
Wait, what is this show again? Is this the My Little Pony Power Hour?
I think the Aholics part of Com.
Oh, the
Take
Aholics
It's
is
taking
taking
over.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
We're doing
so-
very good on the Aholics part today.
Well, welcome to
It's
the
comma.
Aholics Com.
I'll show you the label when they're paying.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, that's okay.
boy.
Oh, no, you know.
All right, we're going to talk about pigs.
Yay! I love pork.
Show mommy how the piggies eat.
Why is this series called Pigs?
Well, it's an interpretation of Bay of Pigs. I would assume that everybody is educated enough to know understands Bay of Pigs.
No, please explain to us the Bay
The
of Pigs.
failed invasion of Cuba
Right,
in
resulted in the
1961 or
That's
2.
funded by the mafia.
Well,
supported by the government.
supported by the government.
Conspiracy theories aside. So then the Cuban government got mad and said, okay, Russians, you want to keep your missiles in our country? Sure, why not? So then there was basically a standoff between the United States and
the communists.
And the communists.
Because
Those
communists
filthy
suck.
pinko commies.
Just remember that communists suck.
Right. It
No matter
doesn't
what they
work.
tell you
It
in
does
your
not
college
work.
nowadays, communism
All
sucks.
your fancy book learning, don't listen.
But I joined one of them farm communities. I only had to pay $1.50 a week.
All right,
It was
so
nice.
Pigs is 7 issues deep. This is from Image Comics. So what's the basic outline of the story?
Basic outline is, well, at the very start.
Wow, I didn't mean to stump you.
Okay, well, it starts off they're interrogating this like middle-aged woman.
No, stop. More general. What's the basic story?
Extrapolate.
The basic premise of the story.
The children of KGB operatives secretly inserted into Cuba have been activated
Cuba, as Kennedy used to say.
to roll out this big master plan that they've been trained for their entire lives. There's these like numbers and codes that they have to memorize that are somehow
Okay, wait,
involved.
you're getting too specific again.
Okay,
Okay.
so the children of retired KGB agents that were living in Cuba, they were sleeper agents.
Right.
Right. They've awoken,
They've been activated.
and they're coming to the U.S.
And
to do their
And at the
nefarious...
end of the first issue, they're interrogating this woman, trying to put all the pieces of the puzzle together.
There's a woman they're calling the White Russian.
Right.
She's this old Russian lady. She apparently knows everything that happened. She knows why it happened, who was involved. She's got all the answers. And I guess it's the FBI, the CIA, whoever.
When she talks, I'm picturing her talking about, you want to know my secrets? No.
Ooh.
Well, she's got a husky
Read
voice.
about her.
She sounds hot.
Well, they all do. Even the hot women, they all have husky voices in Russia, in my mind.
Do they?
Yeah, you didn't see the thing I saw, but we won't talk about that. Some of them are very soft.
The question mark strikes again.
Oh, alrighty then. So, so what happens in this book? I mean, we get a little bit of background
But
on
at the
them.
very end of the very first issue, you see.
Is this a spoiler alert?
Well,
I mean, they're on issue 7, so issue 1.
Oh, okay, right.
so the agent interrogating this White Widow throws down this hand on the table. It's much more than a hand. It's like from like here on, and they're like, "Where's the rest of the president?" You know, and then you start to discover that actually what's going on is the real time of the comic is the interrogation of this woman trying to figure out what's already happened because they know they're trying to fill in all the holes of what actually happened. Like they know some of it. They know the president's been captured.
President of what?
The United States.
Of J.C. Penney. The
Okay.
president of J.C. Penney has been taken on.
Well,
I need cargo pants. Now
I need a portable cargo pants.
Stat. Where are my capris?
No, I want the pants with the zippers and they can turn into shorts.
I want members only jackets back.
Make it happen now. Or
I feel
somebody
like the
dies.
last member.
Where it had like the snap, it had that one little piece that like snapped over.
So basically, the storyline is literally taking place in this interrogation room. But as
but they're
the
telling
story is
the
unfolding, we get this vision of these people in the past and what they're doing. And the overall story is eventually going to lead to the president and how they're capturing him, but there's a lot of steps in order to get there.
Right.
Is it the current
So-
president? I didn't
We
get
don't
to
know.
read
All we
the
saw was a
poster.
hand.
Well, it's a white
Oh.
hand. It's not a black.
Well, I mean, things
I
go
mean, so
pale
it
when
could be
you cut
wrong.
them off.
It could
Don't
be
ask
wrong.
me
No,
how
we
they
never
know
know.
that.
But
Yes, they do. They do.
the point being though that
Could be JFK.
And
we
where
gotta-
the bleep is the rest of the president?
we have to go through these
It
steps in order
doesn't
to
say
get there.
bleed.
No, I know.
And
I know.
first we start out with them going after a congressman.
Right.
Then they go after murdering some neo-Nazi guy in the prison.
I'm all for that.
Murdering neo-Nazi guys.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, except for neo-Nazis, who's not for killing neo-Nazis? I mean, really.
Who is the white Russian?
I mean, I guess regular Nazis don't like killing neo-Nazis, and neo-Nazis don't like killing.
And the first page of every
Well, I don't think there's
issue.
regular Nazis anymore.
I think there's got to be a few regular Nazis, right?
What
I mean,
about
what's the
old
difference between,
Nazis?
what's
Are
the
they-
difference
are they
between a
called
neo-Nazi and a
Well,
regular
they didn't
Nazi?
catch that
Regular
one. He's like
Nazis are
95
from the
years old.
1940s.
What would you call it? Okay, so neo-Nazi. What's an un-neo-Nazi?
Nazis.
New Nazi.
What's an un-neo-Nazi?
That would be an original
A Nazi. Well, there would have to still be Nazis,
39.
right?
Not very many.
Well,
it's
not
all
very
around
Well, they're
there.
in prison.
But I mean,
Or
couldn't there
hiding
be
next to
somebody
the-
now who's
or dead.
22 years old? Couldn't there be someone 22 years old who's not a
Argentina, maybe?
neo-Nazi, but they are a Nazi?
No,
Why not?
because you can't be a Nazi. Nazis already happened.
But couldn't you say, like,
This is the new movement.
I'm for all the Nazi
Nazi.
stuff, not the neo-Nazi stuff?
Nah.
I'm like...
Nah.
Well, you can lump it all together, I guess. It's still.
I mean,
you
isn't
know,
neo-Nazi the only thing that separates neo-Nazi from Nazis
are you
that they're
trying to
not
say, like-
pro-German? They're not
No, they
German
just-
socialists?
They just hate anybody who isn't white.
Right, because Nazi was German socialist.
Yeah.
German National Socialist was
Now
Nazi.
it's just
so
about bigotry
neo-Nazi
and hatred.
is no longer German. It's just Aryan.
Right.
But if you lived in Germany
Yeah.
and you were
They have
you
those
were
groups.
German
They'll put you in prison
nationalist,
if they catch you.
you
Good
say
idea.
you say I'm a German socialist, then that would make you a Nazi, not a neo-Nazi, right?
What?
Exactly.
Well, if you said you were a German socialist.
Now I need some pickled pig's feet.
Okay, in the second issue of Pigs,
Pickled
you get a
eggs.
little bit more backstory of what's the blonde-haired guy's name again?
It's not Felix.
Hold on. In like the third or fourth issue, like in the first page of every issue is like a backstory of like a recap of what happened in the last issue, and then in like the third or fourth issue they give you like the cast of characters, which I was trying to get to. Again, surfing when we should be talking.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So there are two white Russians, apparently.
Right.
Because one white Russian is the old woman in the
And
interrogation.
the other one is the boy I'm talking
But
about.
the other one is this blonde-haired guy who's been living in like Florida or wherever, living a normal life.
American life.
Everyone else has been in Cuba.
Right.
But this guy somehow made it into the United States, has a wife and kids, and when the sleeper cell comes and says, okay, we've been activated, we have to go, Felix, it is Felix. Felix doesn't want to go. He's like, no, I've got kids, I got a family, I don't want to do this stupid thing. Like, what are
Well,
you
he
talking
doesn't
about?
want to kill anymore.
Right, well, he's like,
The
I got a
war's
life.
over, so-
He's like, there's no reason to do it. And of course, they like threaten, his family and whatever. So he decides to get involved. So he's got to go off on this journey. But you do have the sense several times there are conversations between all the guys where like they don't really fully trust him.
Trust Felix?
Felix,
Yeah, because he's not willing to like.
he's not for the mother country
No.
like they are.
No.
So at any time you have this feeling like if something could open, if an opportunity presents itself, he
Very
could
possible.
capitalize on it. What are you doing with beers?
I'm negotiating beers.
He's negotiating a deal.
Because that's more important than comic books. Come on, guys.
I'm listening. He's
I'm
capitalizing.
listening.
Come on.
I'm listening.
Uh-huh.
I was listening. I heard everything you said.
And what did I just say?
Capitalist pigs.
I'll watch it later. I'll remember.
All right.
So Felix could
Well-
be.
Felix is kind of the central character. If you were to gravitate to any of them,
Because he's the one you like, because he's not a cold-blooded, heartless communist.
right?
I
Kind of
mean,
looks like Luke's guy.
So
or
this
Scott
group,
Luke
well, this group of adults now, they were all kids and they all grew up in Cuba, and they all kind of stuck together. They were all trained by the KGB.
some old guy on a bicycle.
Yeah.
Um,
The cast of characters are starting to unfold, so the characters are becoming a little bit more dynamic. Like the
Somebody's ear.
like the dude with the hat that like chopped off that guy's ear. What's his name? Victor. And Havana and Felix have like this weird, twisted, kind of uneasy relationship.
Here's the thing: Havana and Felix.
Like Havana, like basically like took advantage of Felix when they were like pre-teens.
Here's the
almost,
feeling.
like-
Here's the feeling I get. I get this feeling that he saw Havana as kind of like a big sister, like almost like a protector. And then they have this weird moment where she seduces him,
Right.
but they're both teenagers,
Right.
preteens or
Yeah.
something. Like it's
pretty
really
awkward.
kind of creepy.
Yeah.
And that's
Wow.
you kind of get the sense like that's his first.
Well, it's like she's controlling him. She's trying to make sure she has control over him.
Well, and he, like, you saw the kids, all of them as kids were tortured by their parents, whatever, to make them tough, And tortured is probably the wrong word, but they were trying to toughen them up, teach them survival skills and all this kind of stuff.
Boxing lessons. And such.
Yeah, well, and, like, there's a scene where
Well,
he's, like,
how to kill.
tied to trees,
Well,
and there are
yeah.
these fire ants crawling on him,
To make him tougher.
make him
Right.
tough,
You
right?
just have to learn to not mind that
Right.
it hurts.
Right. But, like they're all fine with that. But then once she seduces him, that seems to be like his point where
He stops.
he realizes something's wrong. Like they don't mind being
Show them.
toughened. When you're
Pretty-
showing the Nazi guy.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
twisted now.
You're showing it's kind of hard to show.
Ooh, now it's in 3D.
Yeah.
So now nobody in Germany can watch this show.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, it's a very twisted
Just don't-
angle. I'm a little confused about the whole Nazi thing being thrown into it. I guess it's just to get the weight of the villain.
Well, okay. Well, here's the thing.
Because anytime you throw like Nazi on anything, it's automatically
Oh, it raises
villainous.
the villainy.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think the point they're trying to make here is like the Nazis and the communists didn't get along, right? Because they both wanted world
Well,
domination.
in
Right.
the
But
beginning,
neither
though,
one
they
wanted
were
to-
kind of in cahoots. They were
Yeah, well-
exchanging technology.
Right, until Hitler decided that he wanted to take over the
Well, because they were
communists.
mongrel gods.
Right, well, and he thought he could control it.
Oh yeah, here's that
Um,
awkward like
Oh yeah, she climbs in his room.
Like- they're really young here.
12,
Yeah.
11, something like that.
San Quentin, that's the prison that they're going to like.
Okay,
kill.
well, wait, hold on. The Nazis and the communists didn't get along. And FDR kind of took that whole the enemy of my enemy is my friend type
Right.
of deal. So even though we didn't like Stalin, and Stalin was like a total
Well, he was
dictator,
10 times
maniac,
worse than
whatever. I mean, yeah, Stalin killed millions and millions and millions
Tens
and
of
millions
billions
of people. But we worked with him because we wanted to stop Hitler. But there's still this sense of like the Nazis and the communists don't get along, and these communists, as part of this ongoing plot, have to kill this high-ranking neo-Nazi guy who's in prison. And even though he's in prison, he's still calling the shots.
Right.
Which we know, I mean,
That's
mafia, Nazi,
Hello,
whoever, they're in prison, but you know they're not completely cut off from the outside
Gangsta.
world.
Right.
They're still calling shots and making things happen. So they have to infiltrate the prison to kill
Well,
the
at
Nazi.
first they decide they're going to pay somebody inside the prison. to-
Right, but then he ends up getting murdered
yeah,
because the Nazi guy has this bodyguard. Who's,
no, they chop off his foot.
Well,
Remember?
but the bodyguard is like the total badass guy
Right.
protecting the Nazi.
Right.
Nazis, man, what are you gonna do? Nazis,
Crazy.
I mean, really.
Crazy. So there's
Okay,
a lot
here,
of
let me-
awkward backstory in the beginning.
All right, so let's kind of stop the recap of the story for a minute. You had, as we talked earlier, you said you wanted to stop with kind of the mainline Marvel and DC books and try something that was out of the mainstream.
Right.
And I suggested Pigs. Were you reading Pigs before I suggested
No.
it, or so you just started reading this a couple days ago? Okay, so what do you
Well, it's
think?
Image, but you know.
Well, but it's not Marvel DC,
No.
and it's not superheroes.
No.
Right. So, I mean, what do you
so what's
think-
wrong with it then?
What are your
It's-
feelings on the story?
I feed off of this stuff. Whenever like something
Nazis? You like Nazis? Is that what you're saying?
No, like
Oh, communists. You like communists?
independent.
You're
books.
socialist. You're into
Independent
social-
There you go.
books, sir.
Have you no decency, sir?
No, I think my biggest problem that frustrates Dirt most is I have a lack of political opinions sometimes. But anyway,
Oh, you
Oh,
just
so
don't wanna go
you
there.
don't care about Nazis?
I'm-
Nazis can take over the world. You don't
Oh
care.
no,
I'm
I
more of a
wouldn't-
Nazis just yeah, the Nazis are moving in. That's fine.
no, see,
I
no,
won't
that's
allow
his
that.
perspective. Him,
Who cares?
like I'm. the
Nazis are
puppet.
okay. They're
Yeah,
people too.
He's
They're
Here,
just
let me
people
pull your
too.
strings.
yeah, there, yeah, exactly. He's feeding me these lines. No, so I mean, no, that's not really it.
So you're
Just-
okay with Nazis?
No, I'm not okay with Nazis. My grandmother's
Why
side
not?
is Schlesinger, okay?
Oh.
My mother's side
Like
is
Dr.
Jewish.
Laura?
A crowd by any other
Are
name?
you related to Dr. Laura?
No.
Can I meet her? Can you
No.
give me an autograph? or
No.
anything?
Are we going to stay on the
Like
subject?
a
You
dot-
asked
I don't know.
How is this
I
fair?
don't know.
How is this fair? He asked me a question.
You answered it.
You wouldn't give me a chance to
Oh
answer.
no, you didn't answer it, did you?
No.
You were just kind of mumbling and stumbling, weren't you?
Yeah, you got no idea what
So,
you were talking about,
Yes.
do you?
So what do you think of this book?
I like it, and it's nice
Are
to
you
read
enjoying
something-
it?
Yes.
Beauty.
I'm going to read it again.
I mean, what do you think is the
I
strength
can't
of the
wait to
story?
read it.
The strength of the story is kind of built around Felix and like his dynamic character involved in this like cell that's been. And you know what? There's some intrigue there that where I'm interested into like this whole thing about like these numbers they have to get from all these high-ranking officials and stuff. Like the senator.
There's some sort of code that they're breaking, that they're working towards.
I don't know if it's like launch codes to like nukes that, you know, I mean, it makes sense. I guess a senator would have launch codes, maybe, and
No.
then like the president.
No, senator would not have.
I wouldn't think so.
No.
But I don't know.
President, vice president.
Well, okay.
And it's a nice, fresh, and I read through it really quickly because it's a lot different than, for example, reading stories about superheroes. And it's like, I don't know, for some reason it was easy for me to wrap my brain around this.
Right,
And
because really they're everyday people.
Yeah, they don't have superpowers.
But they got skills.
You know, they're super trained. They've been trained
Exactly.
since they were
Okay, well,
kids.
let me ask you this then. Do you think the fact that Felix is played as this guy who was able to find a normal life, you know, wife, kids, job, lives in suburbia, is just kind of this normal, average life, pulled, you know, back into this world, does that make him the everyman? Does that make him you? Like, if Felix were to die in the next issue, would
I'd
you
be
lose?
devastated. I'd be
You'd
done.
lose
I'd be
interest.
done.
Yeah. Because he's you, as you read it, you identify with him. So you think, okay, if I was in this situation, how would I react? And you find yourself saying that
Well,
what he's doing is
And like supposedly Felix was the badass of the kids, like in you know in the early days.
Oh, in the backstory.
Yes.
When they were children.
So like and like all the other kids revered him, like he was the toughest one. So something happened, and it's like they're not explaining that yet, and so you're drawn to like want to know, okay, what made this guy become more humane?
see, and I think it has to do with the girl.
Okay.
I think it has to do with like him.
Well, yeah,
developing-
obviously because they had that like weird, awkward moment at the
Right,
end.
but I think that's the reason why it all kind of fell apart for him, because it's one thing to say, I'm going to train you to be a killer, and you're going to kill somebody you've never met before,
yeah,
whatever.
and Havana's like the team leader too.
And once she's
So-
like, okay, well, we're going to take these personal feelings, like he's a young boy, he's starting to be sexually aware, she takes advantage of
I
that.
think it's about control, is what it was all about.
Well, and then he's like, okay, this is where it's wrong.
Right.
Like, I can kill somebody, and that's fine, because that's what I'm trained to do.
Right.
But as soon as a girl breaks your heart, then it's over.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's the whole, you know, what it comes
Well, and
down
at some
to.
point,
Didn't you
some
think
people
that
in
the
that line of work just tire of it.
who was the artist on this again?
Rembrandt.
Picasso. Jackhole.
Go to the credits page. Go to the,
Reno Tamura.
where's
Jomama.
where's the credits?
Oh, there it is. Yeah, artist Reno Tamura.
Okay, what about it?
I like it. I was just going to compliment him. I like the.
What do you think is good about it?
I like the detail.
Well, but
there's
it's
not
too
a lot
much.
of detail.
No, it's not too much. It's clean. It's
I like this
it makes
previous. Go
sense.
back to the previous page.
Well, and like Dirt has talked about this a lot. Like just for example, this first page here, the frames flow from one to the next. Like you know, here from here, his arm to obviously her putting back on her clothes to here him looking down, him looking over to her.
Takes you to the next page.
She's
She's
out the
crawling
window.
out the window, which takes you to the next page,
Right.
which is this map, but there's something going on here, so your eye is trying to figure out what's going on. You go to the next page, they're sitting up there, you're looking over at her, she's
Right.
looking down at the map, she's
Right.
looking there, going to her foot, which pulls you this way.
So
she's
it
looking
makes
there,
it,
she's looking
it
down.
makes
Colors
it-
change. It's brighter.
Right. And,
But I mean,
and
where
the scenes, like the color scheme, the color palette they pick when they're going from the past to the present, you know,
The past is darker.
it's different.
well, and
It's
here's the thing that I don't know if you've noticed this, but it seems like when they kill people, there's a lot of cool colors. There's a lot of blue, a lot of green. When someone's dying, and then when they're having these conversations, there's a lot of red. So it's like here, it's like who's the guy in these guys in dark are the ones getting killed,
Right.
whereas he's the one doing the killing, so he's in the red. So he's in the light. Then you got this guy hiding in the shadows, and
He's
again.
dead. Which
He's
not
he's
dead.
what's going on. You're looking at this guy. That guy's kind of looking at an angle,
Right.
which brings you down here. There's shots
Yeah.
firing. I mean, it's like the
It's
artist.
a very,
visual
it's like
pathways.
it's a classic.
Yes.
It's a
Brilliant
classic
visual
setup.
pathway.
The guy has done the artist has done a very good job of setting up the pages so your eyes flow from panel to panel, which is something we've talked about before. There are books that we have torn apart because they haven't
Don't
done
do
that.
Yeah.
Whereas this guy does a very good job of putting
Which-
it together.
You know, with Comixology, it's great because when you're going frame by frame, it's real quick.
Yeah.
You know, just doom, 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 doom. You know, like a pinball, you're just reading it so fast.
Although the art does change.
Do we get a different artist?
Yeah, we do. Is it just in issue 7? Let me see here. Issue 7. Who's the artist?
I like the guy with the big knife and the Van tennis shoes.
Oh yeah, and that is the same guy who does Spider-Man.
Well, no, that was just the cover.
Yeah. Just,
no, the interior.
That's an empty cover.
no, it's the same artist.
No. Okay, here's the difference. Breno Tamura is still the artist, but there's flashback artist. It says is Will Slinney.
So they have.
Oh, so no wonder you get 2 different styles.
No, that's great though.
And 2 different approaches. Yeah,
It's so simple. It's genius.
It works. It really does.
Yeah. So anyway, where do you think the story? I mean, obviously the story is going to have to at some point catch up with the president getting captured, his hand getting cut off. But I mean, how do you tie in? There's the senator that they get the numbers from. There's the Nazi that they kill. How does that lead to the president getting his hand chopped off?
I think it just makes for great writing. To be honest with you,
well, it's going to make you
and
keep
he
reading
could-
to find out.
Well, but I mean, do you see a path? Do you see any connection?
no.
Between-
And that's-
It's like a
and that's what's great about
Tarantino
it.
movie.
That's what's great about it because it makes me want to buy the next issue because there's a few things going on with huge question marks. You've got the president captured. Where is he? What's going on? Why are they doing it? You got the code thing. Why are they trying to get all these codes? You got the whole dynamic Felix character. He's the only dynamic character of the group, that like wants to change and doesn't want to be a part of what's going on. And I think, am I missing anything else? The whole mystery behind how they were formed as a sleeper cell too. So there's a lot going on. I mean, I guess the real question is, of those, what is most important for the reader? Like, what do you want to get? What's the big topic?
Well, one of the things they introduced,
Like for me, the part with the president and stuff, yeah, it's just like a shocker and it's pretty freaky.
Right.
That
there's a hand.
Yeah,
Just sitting there.
but that's not the story that like interests me the most.
Well, with the interrogation, it starts out the interrogation of the old lady, White Russian. There's this guy who's trying to intimidate her, who's swearing at her, trying to be all mean, and slamming his hand down on the table, doing all that kind of bad cop stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's this other woman who comes in, and she's like the good cop. And she's the one who has some more information, and she's coaxing a little bit more information out of the lady. And I almost wonder if there's I almost wonder if there's some sort of something more going on with her. If she's maybe somehow part of the whole, like
Yeah, why
if she's
do
a
they do
double agent.
Who knows?
Yeah, they kind
Both
of
of them.
overdrew.
Well,
their
that's a
faces.
different artist. That's the other artist.
Okay.
So overall, Pigs, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Oh, definite thumbs up.
Recommendation from me to you as a gift.
All of these were.
I haven't read it yet, and I can't wait. Really, I can't. I mean, I'm loving everything I'm hearing.
You know what? I think we left some gaps in there, so we
Well,
didn't really do.
I mean,
a lot of
I don't
spoilers.
want to. I'm not giving away everything that happens in the storyline. I mean, there's obviously more stuff that happens that we're talking about. So you're going to keep reading it?
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
and it's actually makes me sad because it is such a quick read. Like when the next issue comes out, it's like
This is one of those. Vertigo at DC kind of carved out this little territory. They had books like Red and Losers and stuff that got turned into movies that kind of dealt with kind of the same area that this series seems to be doing. And I think that Image has, in the last year or so, kind of been pushing that whole creator-owned, outside of the mainstream, not guys in capes, not necessarily good guy versus bad guy, but the shades of gray.
It could be somebody you walk past in the grocery store.
Right.
Right. And stories that are not, like if you think of the TV show Dexter. Like Dexter's a
That is
serial
not a true
killer, so he's a bad guy, but he kills bad guys, so he's a good guy. You know what I mean?
It's like a blood pathologist
He does a blood splatter
analysis.
analysis for the police department. And so that's kind of where you're at with pigs, where it's like there's this one guy in this team of bad guys who you kind of associate with, and you kind of like him, but all the stuff they're doing is like you don't want to like a KGB sleeper cell. Because you're like, those are communists. Communists are obviously bad, and they're doing some nefarious things.
Hey, I got.
But they kill a Nazi. Well, how bad can they be if they're killing a Nazi? I mean, they're still communists. You hate them because they're communists, but they're killing a Nazi.
But
they did chop off the
Does it take
president's
place in the present day?
And where did he get this like ninja star swastika thing? That threw me off.
Well, I think that was like an ironic planting of a device.
Okay, but didn't you think it was a little silly? Like he.
I mean, yeah, the idea of having a Chinese,
what does it matter?
a Chinese throwing star that looks like a Nazi symbol, but with little.
Well, I wonder if we're going to
triangles.
see more of that.
Well, not if the Nazi doesn't make it.
But it was used to kill the Nazi.
Well, you know, I'm not saying nobody's hair wasn't going to get mussed.
But I mean, they left the body.
And then the bodyguard guy is still alive.
So you think he's going to come back?
Yeah, I think he'll be like
He'll like escape from
the
prison.
angry guy
and
with
do
one
it.
eye, and a peg leg, coming to seek vengeance. But
Does
overall,
this take place in the present day?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like present day.
Yeah,
Okay,
'cause
so
when
they're KGB sleeper agents. So if you think
Children
about it,
of KGB.
children of KGB agents, but the system they work for
No longer
doesn't
exists.
exist anymore.
No.
Except it obviously does because somehow they're reactivated.
Right.
So there are still.
Well, I'm sure they call it something else now.
Or what if it was just a bumbling mistake that they were reactivated?
Exactly.
You think there's no head to the snake?
Because they're capitalists now in
Well, because
Russia.
there's like this big.
Yeah, but they're not really.
I know.
Because
But
This is a dickhead.
okay. And
They
then
put those girls in prison, those punk rock girls. How dare you?
well, then
Right.
here's the other thing.
Let them girls
Think
sit.
about this. Okay, so the KGB spies and Mother Russia came up with this plan to set up this sleeper cell. Okay, so they had this probably plan to unfold on how they're going to wreak havoc or destroy the United States. It's probably going to involve what? Nuclear chaos of some sort, right?
Of some sort.
So I think that's really where this is going to end up going.
Well, to do the most
I think
damage
the
possible.
codes are somehow evolved like nuke codes.
I almost wonder though if the
I'll be
kids.
I'll almost be disappointed if it does go that route.
Well,
But
here's
that
the thing.
seems to be the feel of where it's going.
Have you ever heard of number stations? Shortwave radio number stations.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, where if you go to certain places in the United States, in the world, you can take a shortwave radio and tune into these random pirate radio stations, and you'll hear at a certain time there'll be like a tone, and you'll hear a voice say 28, 12, 15,
Yankee
16,
Hotel
42, yeah,
Foxtrot.
something, and a piece of musical play or something, and then it repeats, and then it stops, and it goes off the air and never to play again.
Those are
Right?
secret codes.
Those are CIA. Well, some of them are CIA, some are KGB, some are what's the Israeli
Yankee Hotel Foxtrot is
um,
an Oriental. It's probably Red China.
But anyway, what they do is they have these pads that have different codes for different letters of the alphabet.
Right,
And
yeah.
depending
It's
on-
like the
depending on-
Enigma machine in
Right,
World War II.
So depending on what day it is, you turn to like that page on the pad,
You take
and you
your
hear the
A-
numbers, and there are people who were stuck on like East Berlin, and they were given one of these pads, and they would tune into the radio, they get the code, they know when was a good time to escape, for whatever. They're like the CIA would feed the information so that people would know when it was safe to make a run for it, right, basically. So I almost wonder if there's some sort of code, like there's information being fed to them through these numbers, but it's like a bigger code. So you would have these daily codes that would go through,
There's
like,
a code
here's this,
within a code.
but there's like a master code.
Right.
So it's like they have to get the number, but the number feeds some sort of overall picture. Like
So-
the
Or
government,
maybe there's a
So-
little
so
piece of the
this-
code that makes up.
right? Like the government, like
So the
there are parts
sleeper
of it-
cell is trying to get back to Mother Russia by getting the master codes.
Not necessarily. Like, for instance, there are parts of the United States government that would work with parts of the Soviet government, even though we were at war. Like, we were at the Cold War, and we were still fighting each other, but there were still parts within the government that would communicate and work together for different means, but clandestinely. Because there are parts within the government that wanted to, like nobody wants assured mutual destruction.
No.
Right? Nobody wants to see everybody die. Even though there are going to be parts that are saying like, oh, we got a nuclear bomb, you got a nuclear bomb, you make a move, we all blow up. But there's still parts in the government that are going to communicate with them and just say, okay, despite all that, if something else happens,
Chicago.
well, no, but like,
Sorry, love Moscow.
but if
What's next? I don't know.
if the United States, but if the United States and Russia are at Cold War against each other, like in 1982, okay, but communist China or North Korea does something, then who are we going to turn to as an ally in order to attack North Korea or communist China? You're still going to have some involvement of the Russians. You'd want
the Russians
involved.
and the Chinese don't get along.
Right, exactly. So I almost wonder if this whole kind of getting these codes, these numbers, pulling certain like crazy elements out of this congressman, this Nazi guy, whatever, if there's not some sort of bigger thing going on, this clandestine connection between the different governments kind of going on between the two, where the president, his involvement is something other than just the fact that he's a hostage and they're sending a body part to show that they have him. Like there's some message of his involvement of the two governments working together that they're trying to make public. Yeah, expose. Like I almost wonder if there's like this greater conspiracy.
Well, like here in that last issue, it's like case file with the radio transmissions being documented. Like they're like building a case.
Dude, I have a friend. All right, I'll just tell one of these stories. Just
Oh,
sitting
no,
around drinking.
wait a minute.
No,
Hold
we're
on. Do we need to like pinky swear and like
No,
sign
that's
a
okay.
document
I'm
saying
not
that
gonna-
we never and like do they like?
I learned about hand gestures earlier.
I won't speak his name.
Hand what?
Hand gestures.
Oh, okay.
I had a friend who worked for the Navy. All right, he was in the Navy for several years. His job was to sit at a machine, aim it at a satellite, and try to record all the data coming off the satellite. That was his job. And he said sometimes you would hear people talking, sometimes you would hear tones. And he said the tones would come through and it would sound like a burst of static, just like this, and that would be it. But he would say what you would do is you would take that sound and you would slow it down 500 times, 1,000 times. And when you slowed it down, it was people talking. It was recorded conversations that they would compress, and then they were transmitting back and forth. And so a lot of the information that we were stealing from other governments, basically, was this information that they would compress and shoot, and you would just hear it as static over the radio. And part of his job was to listen for these bursts of information and to grab that information and try to figure out.
Excuse me.
Wow.
Was that to cover up the sound of the gunshot? What was that?
That's all right.
I
I got him under control.
But I mean, that's part of the Cold War stuff. I mean, that's stuff that really happened.
Yeah.
And when we think about that as us as regular people going through your lives, you don't think about
I had a
what
friend in the
spies
Navy at that
do.
Well, I've
period.
got a decoder
Yeah.
ring. I've got a decoder ring under my pillow.
But I
right
mean,
now.
people
Little orphan Annie.
Yes.
people literally did
I'm gonna
that.
save
Yeah.
her.
I mean, that's crazy.
He
when you think
photographed
about what-
submarine, not submarine. The Russians would use fishing trawlers as spy vessels,
Mhm.
and the destroyer he was on would find these ships, and his job with this magnificent telephoto lens, photograph the captain of every one of these
figure out
ships.
who's on the ship, and do you have a better idea what mission they're on because you know who's
Right.
in control of the ship. So that's why I think that there's because the guys who have structured this story have done a good job of everything seems to fit except for the big pieces.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's on purpose.
Well,
Like-
you need all the. It's like a Tarantino movie. You
Well, they-
need all the little pieces to
They go and they find the congressman.
Well, the little pieces are to keep you interested. The big pieces are not to be solved, so that way, ultimately, you
the big pieces will all
Right.
come together, but right now they don't make sense.
and that's on purpose.
I mean, because the guy, what's his name? The guy in the hat busts into this congressman who's having sex with this woman. He's like, "No, go ahead and finish," while he's standing there with a
Right.
bazooka. He's standing around the bazooka. He's like, no, go ahead and finish.
And what's crazy? And then at the very end, he like pulls out some dirty past at him with like a small boy.
Oh, right. So I mean,
like they're getting some detailed dirt.
There's obviously something more going on. We just don't know how the big pieces fit.
That's the
All the little pieces fit, but not the big. So that's why that's why I think there's something more going on here, and that's why I like pigs. So I think it's a really good series.
I love the cover art too.
All right. Do you want to go into Rachel Rising? We take a quick break.
Let's just take a quick break.
Okay, we're gonna take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're gonna talk about Rachel Rising here on Comiholics.
It gives me heebie-jeebies.
On the Pop Culture Network, home of the heebie-jeebies. That's what she said.
Contact! We're back, folks.
Oi!
Oh, welcome. Cheers! Cheers, mates.
What is it now? It's
fellow Comiholics.
12:25. We started the show at like 9:30.
2:30 in the morning. What?
Well, you know.
Welcome back.
We've been here over 3 hours.
Yeah.
Of course, it's only going to come out like an hour and a half so far to these people. You missed some
stuff.
There was
a lot of editing.
You missed some good stuff.
Hey, sorry I pulled a blade on you earlier.
Well, you know,
I didn't mean it.
When you get into a switchblade fight, you just got to see it through.
Well, you
just
you know what? I had a bag of marshmallows.
Wait. To be fair, I never had a switchblade. They were butterfly knives.
Okay.
It is different.
All right.
It is different.
It was different. I was going to bring a machete, but
that's just getting out of hand.
Exactly.
When it's the machete time, you know
all of this
the party's
aggression
over.
will not stand.
Dewey, you have to me.
It will not stand. All right. Before we get into Rachel Rising,
we're going to talk about how Bane sounds just like Sean Connery parody from Will Ferrell in Saturday Night Live.
I don't think you have the right.
It was Tom Hardy.
I'll take Schwartz for $500.
The guy who did Bane was the guy who was the Romulan Captain Picard in the last Star Trek movie before the reboot.
Junior! I don't know.
Well, we got fan mail.
Okay.
Let's talk about the fan mail first.
Yeah.
So pull the fan mail back up. Yeah,
I had it.
Oh, I better turn my pad upside down. You're always so worried about your pad. I wonder what time of
Why don't
this
you
is.
change it? Maybe it'll be better.
Get back to the email.
I'm working on it. Hey, Dirt.
Hey, Dirt. Don't be afraid.
All right, so go ahead and read.
It's that crazy 14-year-old kid again.
What 14-year-old kid again?
It's Jordan.
Jordan
Kennison.
You the man, Jordan.
Yeah.
Wait, Jordan Kennison. Wait, are you Sam's son?
An homage to Sam.
Oh, that's what you were doing.
Yeah.
I thought it was jock itch.
No.
It's really bad.
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't just pee and it burns. Which, you know, what is that?
That's what Shawshank Redemption. What was that date?
I don't know.
Nothing.
Is it Pop-Tart ready? What is
no,
that?
the government isn't listening.
All right, so what does Jordan have to say?
Well, just getting in touch with us again.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And
I think there's some questions.
a few topics of discussion.
All right, let's discuss them.
Good boy.
First of all, he asked us what episode did we read off his last preview?
You can't just read what he says. Number one,
I also have a few questions for you.
That you read off
Question number one. Do you remember what episode it was that you read off my email? I'm pretty sure I accidentally deleted it and won't find it again unless I listen to every episode.
Okay, well, here's the deal.
You have to listen to every episode.
Sorry.
We have no idea when it was.
Sorry,
But
Jordan.
I'll tell you what.
It'll make you laugh, Sonny Jim.
If you start with episode 1, listen to all of them, write down what books we reviewed,
Man up, Sonny
so
Jim.
we can make like an index
Yeah, you are in
of
charge
all the books that we've covered.
You're in charge of our catalog.
We'll make you an official contributor to the Pop Culture Network if you keep track of what books it is. We'll call you the librarian of Comiholics.
Uncle Pop Culture Network needs you.
And then when you turn 21, you can come join us for an episode. So in 7 years, when we're still...
Yeah.
If we're still alive.
We'll be on episode 36, because we'll get distracted between now and then.
Look, a chicken.
But what? Squirrel! But then you can come be part of the show when you're 21.
Yeah.
Not before.
No.
But bring a girl with you.
Question
That's
number
creepy.
2.
Really creepy.
I was surprised when I heard you recently were unexcited for the Avengers. Since I've been waiting faithfully since Iron Man in 2008. I personally enjoyed the movie more than The Dark Knight Rises and was curious on your thoughts of the movie. Oh, Jordan.
Why so serious, son?
Okay,
You lost me on The Dark Knight Rises. buddy.
okay. Here's the thing.
And,
Here's the thing.
but in your defense, I still have not seen The Avengers.
You have not seen
I
the
haven't
Avengers?
either.
Psh, I can bring
Now,
you a copy.
my son saw it and he said it was. He
I did
loved
not
it.
legally
He loved
hear
it.
that statement.
He loved it.
Okay,
So
here's the, wait, okay. Let me clarify.
how did you describe it? Remember how you described it again
Okay.
on Facebook? Tell me.
Let me clarify.
The Avengers is a really good greasy pizza,
Oh, okay.
and
Aven-
Dark Knight Rises
It's
is
a nice steak dinner.
Ooh.
They both have their place. But here's the thing. Like
The greasy pizza goes right through you, though.
Avengers,
Well, steak
I mean-
dinner sticks with you a little too long.
Avengers. I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy Avengers because of course I enjoyed it. It was fun. It's not an expertly crafted piece of cinema like Dark Knight Rises.
Ooh.
There's a bit of a difference between like
I've been hearing Oscar buzz for the latest movie.
Well, let me put it
From
this way.
critics already.
Well, let's put it this way.
I don't know.
The Exorcist,
Great movie.
Friday the 13th Part 2.
Piece of crap, but fun.
But fun. And they both have their place. It's not saying that you can't enjoy
Exactly.
Friday the 13th Part 2, but it's not the same as The Exorcist.
Halloween or Rob Zombie Halloween.
No, that's completely different.
Ooh.
That's like a very good movie and Rob Zombie turd.
You didn't like the Rob Zombie
No,
version?
that was garbage.
No, but dude, it gave
No.
well,
No,
why
dude.
did that kid
There's
go
no dude.
off?
No, dude.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I-
dude.
I beg your pardon, sir. My brother.
Regardless, here's the point I'm trying to make: is
Get
that
after it.
I enjoyed Avengers. I thought it was great. I enjoyed Dark Knight Rises more because of the crafting that went into it. Now, if you want to say that you like the Avengers more, fine. You liked Avengers
Clark.
more. If you want to say that they're both great movies, they're both great movies. I don't disagree with that. You could say, in fact, that they're both 9.5. If you want to say they're both 9.5, that's fine. I would just say that if they're both equal, I enjoyed Dark Knight Rises more. If you say that Avengers was great and you didn't like Dark Knight Rises at all, it's time to
He
grow
just
up.
said he enjoyed it more than Dark Knight Rises. You know.
That's not
And
to
you
say
can-
he didn't enjoy Dark.
Right, and then,
I
right,
don't
exactly.
want to condemn a guy.
So if you enjoyed one more than the other,
Beauty
so
Clark.
did I. I enjoyed one more than the other. Doesn't mean I disliked the other one, but leading up to Avengers, I liked Iron Man. I liked Captain America. Iron Man 2 kind of fell flat, and Thor didn't really do a whole lot for me. So leading up to Avengers, I was not as excited for Avengers because
the chicks
two of the
dig
movies
that
kind of dropped me
Thor
off.
dude, though.
Well, he's got nice hair.
Well, he is pretty,
I mean,
but
he's-
you know, whatever.
whatever. And
Yeah.
I think part of the problem I had with Thor was Natalie Portman. Because I think that kind of took me out of it a little
Right.
bit. Where it's just
It
like,
wasn't a good fit.
no, that didn't work for me.
Okay, so moving on to question number 3. Our boy.
Oh, there's another one?
Yeah. No.
Which graphic novels and or storylines, preferably superhero comics, do you recommend I read? Wow.
You're welcome.
You just spit all over my tablet. by the way.
And you just
Whoa!
wiped it off. Oh God!
Yeah.
Wash your. Oh, jeez.
All right, which graphic novels do you recommend I read? These can be current, or I've already read The Killing Joke, Watchmen, Dark Knight Returns, Bone, Blackest Night, Brightest Day, and Flashpoint.
Well, first of all, I would hope that, like,
That's a lot of DC.
Yeah.
I would say branch into Marvel a little bit, as we talked earlier about the Ultimates line. Grab Ultimates, Ultimate Spider-Man, and Ultimate
yeah, I
X-Men.
found that the Ultimate Universe right now is really what's drawing me to Marvel.
It's a lot of fun right now.
Yeah.
Where
and
does
they-
Jordan live?
Well, we're not gonna.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
Vermont. I don't know.
Yeah,
Schenectady.
Schenectady, Sheboygan,
Wow.
whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
Portlandia.
maybe go into your local comic shop and go, hey, I want to read something independent,
But he wants.
but
to hear-
mainline.
Well, no, but he wants some superhero. He
Yeah.
wants some superhero.
Well, but I
Um,
want something independent superhero. And
Well-
this is
well,
what I
for
read
example,
mainline, and maybe they could recommend something.
All-Star
like that.
Superman.
Okay.
I know it's DC again.
Okay,
Another
there
good
you go.
book that I think you find some value in.
One that we've actually discussed on the show before was Invincible. That's superhero. It's from Image Comics. It's from Robert Kirkman, guy who does Walking Dead. It's his take on superheroes, so that's
Right.
another good one. So Invincible, All-Star Superman, get into the Ultimate stuff happening in Marvel right now. That's some good stuff right there. You're going to spend About $50 getting into all that stuff right there. So there's a good spread for you to check out. All
Um,
right.
But yeah, thanks
Yeah.
again, Jordan. We appreciate the feedback.
You're the man, Jordan.
And yeah, so
Which is great because we got all these generations that carry over. For example, the old man here, he had his son on the show, radio show. It was many.
it's like episode 12 or
Yeah.
13.
But still, no, it's great, because the whole dynamic shift of everything, because we're still kids at heart too.
And actually, Huckster was going to be on the show tonight.
Right.
He didn't make
Oh.
it because he talked a woman down from suicide today, and he didn't feel like talking about comics.
No, that's for reals.
Whatever. I mean, yeah, seriously. There
Yes.
was a
Oh
woman.
my God.
There was
Yeah.
a woman.
Good
Which
for
bridge
him.
was it? Was it
Good for him and
the
her.
one by
let's
CWO?
not like, get specifics because I think
Right.
the kid in question was a kid.
Okay.
So,
But-
Somebody
but-
got talked out of making the ultimate mistake.
So
Yeah.
Huckster actually saved a life today.
Good man. Good man.
So
and he's like,
Cheers to
I
you,
just-
Huckster.
yeah, I
Watch
just-
this. It's for you, Hector. Watch that.
Cheers. So, but yeah, he was like, yeah, I don't feel like talking about comic books today.
he's like, whatever. Psh. Save a life talking about comics. I mean, come on, way the opposite. Splitter.
Which is funny. I've just known that guy since I was a kid. But yeah.
Corey Feldman.
Right.
Yeah. So Corey Feldman couldn't be here because he had to settle down a little bit.
But yeah, please keep the feedback coming. If you're listening to our show for the first time, or you're a veteran, a seasoned comaholic.
We'll talk about your letter on the air live.
A veteran. Actually, veteran is not a bad term to use the way some of these shows go.
So, are we gonna just jump into Rachel Rising?
So let's talk about Rachel Rising.
Okay. Another suggestion from Dirt.
So again, Apocalypse was talking about getting into some stuff that's not superhero, not mainline, whatever. So I recommended Rachel Rising. It is from Terry Moore, who's best known for his Strangers in Paradise series. Long-running series ended. He did a series called Echo, which was kind of his take on the superhero thing, and that one didn't really do as well in the marketplace. I don't think it was a problem really with the story as much with just he brought it out right as the whole economic downturn thing happened, and it just kind of got lost in the shuffle of everything. Rachel Rising, though, has gotten a lot of attention. It's also his first push into digital was with Rachel Rising. That's his first kind of grabbing onto the whole comicsology ring and running with it, putting it online, which I appreciate because I do read a lot of digital. Rachel Rising is one I was buying in print, and I bought in print. Actually, I think up until about issue 8. 8 was the last one I bought in print, and then 9 I bought digital.
I'm going to say this right off the bat because I already can tell that we're fans of this book.
No, I hate it.
Buy the first volume on Comixology. It's a great value. I think it was like $10 maybe for 6 issues.
I don't know. I bought them all individually as they came out. So,
and it's a great read. I can tell you right the artwork. It's black and white.
what? Yeah, okay.
There are some color covers.
Terry Moore actually has done.
He does the art. As
Well, he's done several how-to books on drawing and anatomy,
right.
and characters and laying out the page. I mean, he's a really consummate artist. Like, he's a really good artist. Plus, he's a storyteller, which really helps. That's always a bonus when you've got both of those things working together in one guy. So he's. Let's talk about the story. I mean, what's the story? What's the story of Rachel Rising?
Rachel is the angel of death.
Well,
She's been accused of being the angel of death.
she's a zombie
Right.
at this point.
Right.
The
Well, the story starts off. She is basically digging herself out of her own shallow grave.
she's
find
been
her-
murdered
Hey,
by
she
somebody.
finds out, right.
Yeah, finds herself on
Oh,
the
hey,
roadside.
she's been. Ooh.
Yeah, she's pretty
Her
hot.
eyes
This is
are
my
like
first look at it, so.
her eyes are like, well, it's black and white, but you
Messed
can
up.
assume they're like full of red blood, like they're like bloodshot.
Yeah, bloodshot eyes.
Yeah.
She's got
Colored the wrong
a
way.
scar on her neck,
Ligature marks, I believe they call it, from being strangled.
and in
Yes.
fact, at one point she like throws up, and like a piece of rope comes out of her mouth. This book it gives me the heebie-jeebies. It really does because it really makes me think. It's one of those like, it's almost like a murder mystery.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it is. It's the idea that someone's killed her. She
she's
doesn't
trying
know
to figure
who.
it out.
Yeah.
And here's my only beef.
And she's dead.
And I know I'm just throwing this right off the bat, but the whole time frame from when she was buried into a shallow grave to her like finding her friends and her friends like thinking, no, you're a ghost. That's not really defined.
Right. I got the feeling it was like 3 days. Like it wasn't. It was enough time that people realized there was something wrong, but not really enough time that like she's forgotten or
Right.
massive memorials or anything like that. It's just like I haven't seen you for a while. What's
Right.
going on? Where have you been? Type of deal that happens with some people. At the same time that the storyline of her dying and coming back happens, there's also a second storyline going on of some sort of evil in this town. And it's
The town is called Manson, too, by the way.
what's the reference? I don't get it.
Charlie Manson, insanity, craziness.
The Lucha Libre
Creepy.
wrestler Charlie Manson?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So this town, there's some sort of evil in this town, and you see it. I think it manifests itself first in a little girl who kills like her sister or
After
babysitter.
she sees this blonde lady that appears before her. See, like at first, like
so okay, there's these different
well,
threads.
let's back up a little bit here.
Okay.
So Rachel, so she's seeking out all the people that she knows to try to gather some facts.
Oh, there's the nightclub. Okay,
Yes.
all right, go ahead.
So she goes and meets up her friend Zoe at the nightclub, and
Mortuary stuff. My goodness.
she sees this woman, this blonde woman. Or no, it goes back even further. She interacts with she's in the bathroom, and this girl goes in the bathroom too, and the girl asks her to help her put this necklace around her neck, and Rachel like touches her or something happens.
Right, when
She's like, "You're gonna die."
She understands.
She's like, your boyfriend's gonna kill you, basically. After she had already told her right before that like she was engaged to this
Right.
man.
So Rachel has this understanding when she touches somebody of when they're going to die
Right.
and what the circumstances are, but she doesn't understand the full picture. At the same time this is happening, there's this other woman, this blonde-haired woman, like ponytail, right?
Right.
The ponytail woman.
And whenever
And
she appears, somebody dies.
She walks up to somebody, and like the guy is buying a drink at
And
the
the
bar.
corpse just popped up when she.
Right. So the guy at the bar is buying a drink for the woman who's in the bathroom, and this ponytail woman starts talking to the guy and saying she doesn't trust you, she doesn't really love
Right.
you, maybe she's cheating on you, puts all these thoughts in his head,
Right.
and so then the guy ends up killing the woman. So
Right.
you've got this evil woman planting these evil thoughts, which leads to murder. At the same time, Rachel's able to divine the fact that these horrible things are going to happen.
So then Rachel chases after this blonde woman after that interaction with the fiance at the top of the building at this place called the Blue Note, and she has this vision where the woman she was interacting with like gets thrown at her from this blonde lady and launches her off the roof, essentially killing her and throwing her onto this car. But yet she comes back. And she had been interacting with her aunt Johnny.
Right.
Frankie and Johnny were lovers.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. Elvis.
So it's a woman.
Wait,
named-
whoa, wait, what?
No, he was questioning a woman being named Frankie. There was a famous Elvis Presley
Johnny.
tune, Frankie and Johnny.
But this woman's name is Johnny.
Well, never mind. Go back to what.
Wait, seriously though, stop, time out. Is there an Elvis reference in this book?
I heard Frankie and Johnny.
Is that no? I don't know Elvis.
Yeah, must
I don't know
Yeah,
Elvis.
there's an Elvis.
I don't know.
There's
See, this is why we have the old man here.
Yeah, you damn kids, you need to listen to the rock and roll, damn it.
Wait, I'm still on Frank Sinatra. I haven't gotten to the Elvis stage yet. So,
Frankie and Johnny were lovers.
okay.
Oh, Lordy, how they could love. But it was an older tune than that. And he covered it.
See, so if there's a reference there, I completely lost on that whole thing.
It's okay.
So at first, when Rachel starts going around to people and saying, trying to figure out what's going on, like her friend is working at the mortuary, and she's going to talk to her, and the friend is like,
she doesn't look. He says she doesn't. Oh, you're not Rachel. You're not.
yeah,
her.
like obviously I've been working late.
And the
Obviously
person
going
before that
crazy.
said you're not Rachel.
Right, like they don't either.
That's what I'm wondering about the timeline.
What are you
Either they
doing?
don't recognize someone's peeing out there by the side of the road.
Oh, for the love of Pete.
That's the joy of having a bar in your own garage.
Well,
So
anyway,
so either they don't recognize her or they don't accept the fact that she's really back from the dead.
yeah, because
Because
her eyes
obviously-
are all messed.
Yeah, because her friend is like, well, that's not really you. Obviously, I've been working late.
Crazy. Yeah, block the camera.
Hey, that's my beer. In your hand there.
I didn't
She's
drink
molesting
from
my
it.
beer.
I just touched it. I warmed it up for you. I know how you like it warm.
What do you think about the approach of the black and white and the real?
I like it.
I mean, it's very simple,
Well,
You know, it's
Turn-
reminding me of.
but yet it's
Early
also there's also
Charlie
some
Brown.
frames that are very complex.
did you
too.
say early Charlie Brown?
Well, because of the simple lines and the shades of black and white and gray. They're just three of them.
Right.
And it just harkens back to a simpler time in comics. Again, the old man talking, you know.
Before there was color television,
Exactly.
there was this guy.
And then-
Exactly. Rocking a stick, you had a present, you know?
But I mean that goes back to Terry Moore. He's an independent comics guy. He could do color nowadays, but he just does black and white because that's what he's done for so long, and he does
No,
it
but
very well.
it's very well done.
He's very good at drawing attractive women.
Yeah.
You know, not like oh she's a supermodel, but
No.
like the girl next
No, he's
door.
good at features.
attractive-
But no, not only
The attractive
attractive,
girl next
but
door.
unattractive. Like he's good at the features. Like Johnny's features on here, I really like. They're striking.
Okay, but what about the big bald-headed guy who works in the morgue, who's like the big dumb like, well, I'd love you and I'd never hurt you. Remember that guy?
George.
George. The guy's like the big. His head looks like an egg.
Okay, but he also can bring out this like sinister, like with the red eyes. I picture them being red.
Right.
They're not red. They're black.
They're a shade of gray.
Right. There's black and white line work and gray tones.
But
But in
it's
your mind,
it's
Gray
that
tone.
talent.
because
it's
when
That,
you
one
that
gray
takes some talent to portray a color.
well then
And,
okay, let's stop for a second, real quick. Look at the covers to the books. Go back to your
No.
go back to your bookshelf.
No.
No!
Go back to your bookshelf.
Like that reminds me of Swamp Thing.
Okay, all his
Like
covers. Well,
this
here,
Rachel Rising.
here, look at this. All his covers,
Doesn't that look like Swamp Thing? Hold on.
Oh, green and orange. Just
or red.
green, orange, and white.
Or
Or is it red?
I think it's red. Here, pull it up. No, of course not.
For the love of Pete.
You call that red or orange?
Ooh, but
It's
this
like
is
a-
my
it's
my
like a
favorite.
burnt-
See, that's the one we're looking at. Do you call
This-
that red or orange?
That is orange.
Orange.
Red, orange.
All right.
But I mean, again, it's three colors. It's the reddish orange color,
The black, the
green,
white.
and black.
I gotta say, and I wanted to say this after reading this. I was like, what am I gonna like my highlights of my review of this is that eerie undertone of understanding what Rachel really is. Like, is she really the angel of death? You know?
Your mama wants to
And
know.
we understand that basically and she will find out. She will have to read issue 9.
Good.
Good
for
okay.
her. So anyway, is she
My mother or Rachel?
Rachel?
Okay.
Actually, your mother, like your legitimate mother, may be the angel of death.
Maybe.
I mean,
No,
that's
mine is.
entirely possible.
Mine is.
Drew said
I
it,
swear to
not
God.
me. Wow.
Sorry, did we get super real there for a minute?
Right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up.
It's alright.
This is one of those books where, like, okay, a minute ago I brought up the Exorcist
Right.
as a reference for
Well,
something
it's just
else,
got that eerie, sinister feel to it, but
Right.
that just like drives you to like want to like understand more of the characters
like-
and like why they're.
a lot of this book is set in wintertime. There's a lot of snow. There's a lot of snowfall.
Death.
Which, yeah, I mean, you get that whole kind of feeling that the world in which they live really has that sense of like death and finality and cold and
Well,
impersonal. And
indirectly, you learn about these witches that were hung and burned. Like,
Yeah,
well, supposed witches.
So
it was like a
this
bunch
hill-
of women, like a couple hundred women, wasn't it?
this
It's
hill in which Rachel was buried and she came back to life is supposedly, as legend has it, where these
Cursed.
witches were Blair Witch Project, all that type of stuff. I kind of think that's like a red herring almost. Like I don't think that really.
That's not really the weight of the story.
I don't really feel like that's just one of those things that's there to add to that overall kind of aroma of the world in which they live. I don't think that's really the story.
This kind of artwork here, though, just like
We'll show it to the camera. Show it to the camera. Ooh. The black and white and gray tones. It's very simple.
See, it's just 3 colors.
but very complex though at the same
But
time.
complex at the same time.
So there's an expert in art and storytelling that's going on in this book beyond the basics. And the characters
All right, the creepiest character of
is
them
the
all,
little girl.
The little girl.
in her pajamas.
Yes.
And she's never...
Well, okay, here's what happened. So the blonde girl, who we find out later is a supposed witch that was like strangled and burned to death or whatever combination of torture, convinces the little girl to kill her sister. Not only kill her sister,
I'm sure she had it coming.
but shove her sister into the trunk. And not only shove her sister in the trunk, but drive her sister, she's like maybe all but 12, drive her sister to this like hill. What do they call it? The like Flame Hill or
Yeah, wherever the witches
Fire
were.
Hill.
Hill.
Yeah. And then like bury her sister in the shallow grave.
Mount Springfield, whatever it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
called.
And she's very creepy.
Okay, here's the next question. All right.
And she has the ability to like, she's one of the few, only her and Rachel can see this blonde woman.
Right, okay. No one else seems to be able to see her except for Rachel and the little girl who's been affected by her. At the end of issue 6 is when her friend Jet dies, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then Jet wakes up in the morgue, and that's how issue 6 ends. That's the end of the first volume. Of
And that's
1
all I
through 6.
read.
Right. So you haven't read beyond that.
Go ahead and spoil away if you want to talk about
Well,
it.
no. What I'm going to ask you is, this came up as a recommendation from me, and you went out and you bought that first volume that has issues 1 through 6.
Uh-huh.
Are you going to wait until issue 12 comes out to buy the
No,
volume?
I'm not buy the individual issues now.
You think it's good enough to buy those individual
Oh yeah.
issues?
Were they $1.99 on Comixology?
I think they're $2.99 when they come out, and then after a month they drop to $1.99.
Well, so for me, I'd be buying $1.99 at the current rate.
At least for a couple until you catch up.
Yeah.
No,
it's a great book. It's got these uneasy undertones, like evil. It's that evil draw. You know, it's like there's all this sinister evil stuff going on, and you're trying to discover is Rachel really evil? Is she possessed? Is she undead? Is she alive but she's just barely living?
Well, I think there's definitely something supernatural about her being there, especially with the fact that
And
she
she's
can
like a
see-
cat. Like she has 9 lives. Like she was already dead, and then she gets dead again by being.
Well, okay. Here's the
thrown
question I
off
want to
the
ask you though.
building.
First it was just Rachel. Then you find out there's the little girl who's possessed by the evil. Where do you think Jet is going to fit in?
She's gonna be one of the reincarnated.
Is she going to be a
Supposed
Rachel,
witches.
or is she going to be a
I
little
think
girl,
all of these.
or is she going to be a
girls-
blonde-haired lady?
I think all of these girls are actually reincarnated witches that were hung and burned, and that's what this is all about.
So is Rachel going to be a bad person or a good person?
I think she'll be
Is
both.
she a good witch or a bad witch?
I think she's gonna be.
Is there such thing as a good witch?
I think
According
that
to the
actually.
Wizard of Oz.
I think actually they're all good witches, but they're seeking revenge.
Well,
Which
that
is
makes
bad
them
because that brings
In your mind,
fear
well, according
leads to
their,
anger.
you know.
Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to misery. That's the path of the dark side, my friend.
yeah, okay.
You
don't
don't
know
know
the
the power of the dark side.
See, if enemies driven before you, a lamentation of the women.
Do you think Rachel is going to be the good that unlocks this thing, or do you think it's going to end with Rachel being damned along with the
I
rest
think she's gonna be the key that like sets off the apocalypse.
Oh, that's off the apocalypse. Yeah. Okay, well that wasn't
coming from
She's the
apocalypse.
angel of death.
What else?
I think she really is the
You think she is the angel of death?
Egomaniac.
Well, how come she can sense other people's death, but she doesn't push people to their death like the blonde-haired lady does?
Because she's an angel of death.
Oh, so there's the demon of death and the angel of death? Is that how it works?
I'm not saying again. I'm not saying nobody's hair wasn't.
I'm not trying to be like the Kyle Pilkington of the.
So it's like the difference between Mr. Roper and Mr. Farley.
Yes.
So your Three's Company
kinda like
references
good,
are coming
but
out.
like-
Yeah, one was funny.
One was
wasn't.
goofy.
Right.
Was
One was goofy and one was pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
One was
Norman
kinda
Fell
good.
was the man. Don Knotts.
Pay your bills.
Don
Should have
Knotts
retired after
the Apple Dumpling Gang.
he shouldn't have even done that.
I don't know. The first one I like. I don't know. Apple Dumpling Gang.
Tim Conway barely saved that.
We just lost our one.
Yeah, but Tim Conway had to stick around in the entertainment industry, or he went into the Mary Tyler Moore.
Conway Twitty.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I like Conway.
Well, guys,
So,
I think
Rachel
that's going to
Rising?
do it.
Good.
That's going to do it for Comiholics because we're like, 8 beers in out of 12. We only got a couple left. So it's time to wrap it up for tonight. But don't forget, you can always leave us a voicemail message by calling our 24-hour voicemail line. It's
Anytime you want. 24
Operators are
hours.
standing by.
217-953-4025. You can send an email to apocalypse@comiholics.com or dirt@comiholics.com. You can't get a hold of the old guy because he lives in a shack.
No
Actually,
cable. No.
Actually,
A van down by the river.
I was going to say, it's a van actually down by the river. Don't forget to stop by popculturenetwork.com. Check out all the other comic book stuff we've got, like the Comics Corner by Ryan Porter. We also have Comic Nation TV, including the Caption Box podcast. That's from the Alternative Minds crew. And as always, go to jointheforums.com,
Yes.
where you can join the forums and talk to all the other great geeks about
'Cause I'm on the forums
toys and
all the
video
time.
games. No, you're never on
Can
the
I give a
forum.
shout out for my band?
Go ahead. What's your band?
Hey, go on to Facebook and like the Texas Trucker Speed Fiends. You won't be disappointed. I swear, man. I swear to God, man.
Texas Trucker Speed Fan?
Texas Trucker Speed Fiends.
Fiends.
Awesome page. Music. It's insanity all the time.
Are you like the
Enjoy
Reverend
yourselves.
Horton Heat?
Oh, we make him look like.
Shellfish.
Well, I guess I shouldn't use a sexual reference of any
No.
kind.
Okay, well, that's going to wrap it up for the show. Thanks for watching. We better go.
And I'll take Schwartz for
But,
$500.
we're all out of black tar heroin, so thanks for watching, guys. And we'll see you sometime after we post bail.
You and your silly Dago mustache, Trebek.